Me
I'm
either,
already,
really.
I'm already in a mood of like, uh, God knows where this is gonna go.
Give me a word. What's your mood?
Uh, it's like a Friday evening mood. I don't know. Like, I've just decided that I'm not a normal person. Like, I am normal, but I
You
just,
just decided that, like right now on my podcast?
yeah, right. On your podcast, it's just like,
You heard it here first, folks.
it's time to come out as a not normal person. No,
Right.
I just have like, I think I don't have a proper filter, right? You know how you have that? I've decided, yeah. You know, people have that voice in their head that says, "Don't do this. Might be dangerous," or "Don't say this. It's not nice." Mine is like, "Do it. Say it. It'll be fun." So like, it's just a very like instant kind of thing.
That's a great way to live. You're going by
Yeah,
your
exactly.
gut. You're going by your intuition. I don't think you're not
Exactly.
nice though.
Mm.
But you know what? I also don't know you. You're a
Yeah,
person that I feel like I know you, but I actually don't at all. So I could be totally
exactly.
wrong.
It could all be
You
a
could be the
sham.
biggest asshole in the world. Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, my clients will think that, right? Like
Mhm.
the way I break their trust and little hearts, they all.
If anybody doesn't follow Mahan on Instagram, you totally should, because I get a kick out of your relationship with your clients that is so apparent through your posts. But also I have a good sense of humor, so maybe I understand what's
Yeah, you
happening.
get it.
But like there's a picture of like sweat puddle on the ground and your client face down, and you're like, I finally broke so and so. Like, it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
I
But you
just love
also
it.
see them all with smiles on their faces, and they're giving you the finger while you say one more. And you know, like your relationship with your client, I've told you this before, but it's very apparent on social media, and I love it. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot because for me, like as you know, like my social media, I just can't take social media too seriously. Like I try to be helpful, like because my goal is like I feel like there is so much uh random messages on the social media. There is so much like distraction. There is like everyone has a different thing to say about training. So my ultimate goal is to try to be on social media and be helpful. And I'm like, if there is a million wrong voices, I'll try to be that right voice as well. Like I feel like people like you and me and like all the people like we're in touch with and like we study with, it is our job to actually put the good word out there, because people who have the misinformation, they're not worried about like putting it out there and like duplicating or multiplying that bad message. But whereas we, like people who know, we're actually a little bit self-conscious because we know we don't know enough, so we don't put that message out. So that's my goal. But as you know, in reality, a lot of times you have a goal, but then like things change. So I want to be that person, but I just cannot take social media too seriously. And then that's when like my sense of humor kind of seeps out, and I just have to be like, I'm trying to put more useful messages out there as well, but you can still see like me just having fun with my clients, and like it's turned into like my clients just seeing each other and appreciating the fact that they are not the only ones who
True,
get
right.
worse out of it, right?
Absolutely. It's not just me who he does these things to.
Yeah, they're
Just
like they
have it
have a
out for me.
support group now. I feel like they have like
They're in their own private
yeah.
group chain. Yeah.
Yeah, they just sit down together in a circle and it's like, hi, my name is like, I don't know, Alex, and I've been training with Mahan for 2 years. And everyone's like, hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex. They've all got chips. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be really cute. Yeah. Do you think those people that are putting out a ton of wacky information on the internet don't care? Do you think that they're just like, whatever, who cares? Here's this, do you think that there's a lack, or do you think that they deal with the same sort of like, I don't want to call it insecurity, but like self-checking that we do, right? Or like post anxiety. Sometimes you post something, you're like, oh God, are people going to disagree with me or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's the fact that like, so basically, to be honest, like I just read an article, I didn't fact check this, but like recently the people are saying Dunning-Kruger effect is not actually a thing. In my head, it is, because I saw, like I went through it. It's just the fact that like when you learn something at the beginning, you feel like you know everything. Like at the moment you learn it, like imagine this graph, you just like suddenly shoot up to the beginning. And like when we both first like our PT course, we just feel like we know everything now, right? Like I'm ready. I'm gonna help everyone, and like they don't know what's coming. And then the more you learn, this curve just kind of dips down, and you go to this valley of uncertainty, because now you know enough to know that you don't know enough.
That you
And
didn't,
then
you thought you knew tons, but oh no, you did
exactly.
not. Yeah.
There's
What's it
so much
called?
the Dunning-Kruger effect. So
I've
I
never
think
heard
it's
that name
the
before.
DUNNING and then Kruger with
Kruger. Cool. I gotta look
KRUGER.
that up. That makes a lot of sense to me though.
Yeah, so like I feel like, and then like when you're at that peak, you just have so much self-confidence. Like, you're like, I know it, I'm gonna put it out there, I'm gonna be helpful. So it's not even out of malice most of the time. It's just that like they're like, well, this helped me, and like the scope of practice or even their experience is so small that they're like, well, this helped me and this helped this handful of people, and I know it to be true, so I'm just gonna say it, right? And they put it out there. But then like people like us, like exactly, we're at that bottom because we're not a specialist yet, but we know enough to know that we don't know enough.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, if I say this, is it correct? Can I make this assumption? Can I put it out there? And that stops us from actually like wanting or even like putting the message like to the masses.
So true. Because I've heard this idea in other ways, but yeah, the more you learn, the more you're like, oh no, I didn't know anything.
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's
this. I
scary.
didn't know this. Yeah. And it can be really daunting, right? It can be really like, oh, damn it. Like, might as well just give up. But it's the people who go, I don't know anything and I must keep going because there must be so many other things to learn. Like, we're in an industry that's just, not that it's, that much special than any other industry in this way, but like you cannot stop learning.
Yeah, it's never ending. And like the funny thing is the people you and I learn from, even like Shallow, like plug him in, he even talks about like the best minds in the world, they only know 15% of like 15% of what it is to know about the human body. Right, just because human individuality, I'm sure you've had clients that like you kind of deal with, and then so like they just defy everything. Like they did like all the things that we knew, they just come in and just like, they're like, well, this is what you knew, I'm just going to throw it out of the window. So like human individuality is really big and it can affect us. So like collectively the best minds only know 15%, and then we probably know you probably more than me, but like I'll probably know 2% of that 15%, which is still nothing, right?
I think we all feel like we know nothing.
Yeah.
But hopefully there's like one person out there who's like, this person knows their stuff. All right.
Yeah. But like, and so those big like people who start, they think like they know everything, right? And that's kind of confidence comes in. But also there are some people
great.
like,
and you need it when you first start out because you're young and you got nothing under your belt. So you get out there, you confident little person.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it. Like use that confidence. And I think we should have that confidence still, right? Because we like, that's what I said. I was like, I talked to people, even, I told Alessandra, I was like, people who have a good message, it actually becomes our job to put it out there. Because people who don't have it, and there are some people, like some people do it out of like just not knowing enough, but some people are also there just to make money and they just want the first quick thing that brings them cash, right? So their message is even worse because like at least there is hope for the others. Like, yeah, I hope, but these guys, they just want the money, right? And nothing will stop them. Nothing will stop them because they know they can make money, or they have the self-confidence to put it out there. So that's forever growing. That's like the universe. Like it's just expanding and there's no end to it. But us who actually have useful information, because we're like petrified or paralysis by analysis, because we know enough but we don't know enough, we stop. We don't put the message out there. Like their message is growing and growing. Like you know it. Every 2 years there's a new trend. It's just like it pops out, people make money, they go out. But for us, we're still stopping at like, I know this works, but I don't want to say it because like it's not 100%. So
but
I
also
think
like a lot of what we preach is just like boring stuff, like consistency and patience and sustainability. It's like, how many times can I post about consistency? I don't know.
Right?
Before people are like, stop it. I want something else. I want the fix. Give me the answer.
And it's like, like wearing this clothes, right? Because I just did a podcast with one of my good friends, David, and he said something. And I was like, that's the name for the podcast. It's like, he said, fitness is fashion, right? Nowadays, like fitness industry is literally like the fashion industry. Everything has to be flashy, everything has to be new, everything has to stand out, right? In fact, in fashion industry, they don't go like wear the same thing over and over again. It keeps you warm. Like what's the purpose of clothes? To cover me from external like environmental stuff. Why do I wear shoes? Because like my feet need protection from walking on like dirt and sand and like grovel and things like that. So that was the original message, and it's still just the same. I'm wearing clothing to protect me from my environment. But then fashion is just like evolved into this thing. Fitness is the same. Consistency always wins, right? You know it, I know it. Like, you want goals, just stay consistent. That's like wearing the same clothes, like protective. But now fitness has become so fashionable. We have, it's like a hydra. It has so many heads, and like the moment you cut one, two other heads pop out, and it's just never stopping.
So hopefully fitness is not like fashion, and the fact that like fashion, for example, bell bottom pants are coming back, and I would have never thought that. And I remember when they came back already in my life when I was younger, and I started wearing them. My mom was like, "That was our thing, and you guys are bringing." I was like, "No, mom, you did not do this.
It's our thing.
This is our early 2000s thing. Thank you very much." And now they're coming back out again, and I feel like my mom. So hopefully, fitness is not in that way that like, you know.
But it is though. Have you seen like people, like things come into play and then go out, and like, you know, like it's always like barbell movements were really cool, and then they went out of fashion, and like machines became popular, and now barbells are becoming more important. And like it does happen, like these things, like training, even training systems, like high like low volume, high intensity low volume was popular, and then like, you know, then it became like high volume, like German volume training, and all these like 10 by 10s and things like that. And now they're going out of fashion. Like I feel like fitness is really like fashion in the sense, like things just go in and out, like even nutrition things, like fats were bad, now they're good, now they're bad again. Carbs were good, carbs are bad, carbs are good. Like it just keeps going in and out.
I'm just thinking of like Bosu balls and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, we're good with those in the past, you
They
know.
were
But you
coming
know
back.
what? Maybe they'll come back. Who knows? I don't know. Huh, that's interesting. Trends, fashion, universe, Hydra. You threw Hydra in there.
Yeah, forever expanding. Greek mythology.
What fitness, what do you think? Because also maybe fitness trends are different in the UK than they are here. I'm sure that is probably a thing. Probably not in a lot of cases, but maybe there are. First off, where do you live? You're in the UK.
Yeah, so in the UK, London.
Cool.
North London, for anyone who like actually cares.
London.
Even though I love South London. If you're in London, you understand, like there are North London and South London, and like South London people don't like they're like South London is the best, North Londoners will be like North is the best. But I've lived like North, West, East, like South, everywhere. So I like them all. But at the moment, North London, yeah.
What's the best about North London?
Nothing. Like London is London in my
You
opinion.
said it was the best.
No, I mean they say it. It's like people who
okay.
like, yeah, they like I'm
about it.
Yeah, I'm just London. Like, to be honest, there's a town south of London by the beach. It's called Brighton. If I want to consider myself from the UK, because I'm not, but I've lived here for like 12 years now. So if I want to consider myself like someone like a place in the UK, I would say I'm a Brightonian. So that would be a South UK part. But
I've heard of Brighton Beach before.
Yeah, it's pebbles and it's nice. I mean, it's not nice because it's pebbles, but it's a very beautiful city. I love that city. But I think trends are the same because like now we have social media, right? Like to go back to your original question, because social media is like trends can easily be picked up from like, I don't know, US or Canada and make its way here, or even like down to Dubai and like East. So
that's
because
true.
of social media, everything's like, it's so global.
I noticed that you train a lot of women.
Yes.
You train predominantly women, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. How you like that?
I really enjoy it because I think we talked about it in the other podcast as well. But whoever's going to listen to this, I was brought up in a female dominant household. So my parents were separated. So I was brought up by my mom, my sister, my aunt, my cousin. So like it was very female dominant. And I don't know if that affects your psyche or anything else, but like I've always been, it's always like I'm not a laddie lad. I'm not like it's actually difficult for me to connect to guys, to be a bro. I just can't be a bro. So maybe that has something in it, but also like from my experience, women do not have as like the ego in the negative like way that like some guys do when they go to the gym, or at least like from
Interesting.
my experience.
What's
uh,
negative ego to you in this context?
when you're not open to change, and when you don't like it's the idea of I know better, right? So like that again, that Dunning-Kruger effect, to a certain extent, like, oh, I've been doing these bicep curls and my bicep looks a certain way, so I should keep doing this, right?
Right.
And like also, like in not, fitness industry, again, we said it is fashion, so a lot of things get judged by your looks, right? Like people, because people don't know, like they just see you, and like at the end of the day, you are a representation of your knowledge as well. So the way you look will help. But I feel, at least in my experience, guys will kind of judge by that much faster than women would. Like a girl might not really care about like the size of my biceps, but if I tell her like the best way to train, that'll be like more applicable to her. So if you put those two together, I think that's like it's easier for me to talk to women, and also like I find them more receptible to like the type of training or knowledge or quality of work that I bring. Like I do train guys, and I like I've been doing this long enough that like I can break those barriers, but like that the like being a muscular guy with a big, I don't know, 15, 16, 17-inch bicep opens certain doors for you that like looking necessarily like me, especially like earlier I was even like much skinnier because I come from like a kickboxing background, so I had to be lean and fast, so I was never the biggest guy. So probably these two together.
That's neat. That's interesting. That's not something that I would have thought of. The susceptibility to, not susceptibility, openness to change, and to learning and maybe absorbing information or something. I like that. That's cool. You know, it makes a lot of sense. I get into I'm always like, oh, I generalize about gender so much, you know, like women are like this and men are like this, but it comes out in the wash so much and so often in what I like see and feel in the gym, especially, and not necessarily with my clients, but just in being a person who's training in the gym with both men and women. An example I'm thinking of is I was testing my squat this week, and one of the guys who's in the gym with me, who's helping spot me. And I said to him after, I'm like, oh man, like the fear got me, you know, when you're testing a heavy back squat, and I don't know, have you ever had this right in the bottom of your squat? There's a voice in your head like, you might not get this, by the way, like, hey, just so you know. And you're like, no, and that throws you off, right? But I said, oh, the fear got me. And he was like, what fear? There is no fear. You're squatting, you know, and just like, oh, like bravado. I was just in a different mood that day. But I find that's always interesting too. In ladies, we tend to question a lot of things. We tend to overanalyze things, maybe think about things too much. Whereas, and again, not every guy in the world, but a lot of guys I've trained with have been like, there's no way you're not going to get this, you know, like there's just zero possibility. And when I train women, it's like, oh, go grab the 30-pound dumbbell. And they're like, 30 pounds? I can't do that. And they're like, yeah, you can. And then they do a set and they're like, I did it. And yeah, of course you did. You know, they don't understand how strong they are. Or they'll go for like the little weights first. And it's like, no, you can do a lot more. Whereas guys will pick up 100 immediately and have terrible form and maybe break down. You know, that's generalizing so hard. But I see that more often than not, that scenario kind of play itself out.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how right I am in this, but I feel like I don't like, just like you, I don't like to generalize between guys and girls, but there are certain differences. And I think it always comes from like background, environment, family, region, religion, things like that, like it or not, will like dictate how we're going to be before we even have developed a personality. Like, especially, I don't know, maybe some things are always the same, like boy, kid, if it's a boy, like, you know, we tell them you can do this, right? You know, it's always like the language even spoken to them is more like you can, you're capable and stuff like that. And then with girls, I find that sometimes, or at least in my experience, like you shouldn't do this, don't do that, like, you know,
ask
like
for
it's
permission first, be nice,
right,
be sweet,
be nice. So like it's like for guys it's like go into battle, for women it's like stay back and stay safe, right? And like this will, like it or not, will like kind of, as we grow, will develop into us. So the guy, as you said, like he'll put the bar on his back and he'll like, well, I can do this, right? I'll go
Mhm.
down and come back up, and might even like sacrifice range of motion for the weight, but
Mhm.
they're very gassed about it because they thought like I could do it and I did.
Mhm.
Whereas you, for example, you were like, what if I can't do it? And then that kind of psychs you out and you're like, well, I didn't. But I was like,
Mhm.
maybe it's like a safety mechanism, like
Yeah,
mechanism.
great point. It's all, yeah, it's all survival. Like, am I safe or am I in danger, right? Those, like, your nervous system being like switching between those two
Yeah.
things. And you're right, the way that you're raised has a lot to do with it. And
Mhm.
I'm sure there are many women who were maybe in the weight room with their parents as kids. You know, you see those videos online
Yeah.
today too. And I'm sure a lot of people grew up that way, and maybe they don't have these types of like psychoses around
Yeah.
lifting. And maybe there are guys who, for them, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's that example too of I think it was last year in the news, they were doing this big expose about children's clothing, and children's clothing for boys was like, you're a warrior, and, and you're, everything was you're a rock star or whatever it said on it, and all the girl stuff was like princess and angel and sweetheart,
Yeah.
and so again, it goes a lot deeper than just lifting and girl and boy. It's messaging and all of that, or people who are trying to approach younger girls or toddlers or whoever it is without saying you're so cute or you're
Yeah.
so pretty. It's hard to switch out that habit and compliment that on something they've done, right? You're so capable, you're so strong, you're so capable, whatever it is, right? You're so smart,
Yeah, exactly.
using
Like
other words.
this might be like my experience, but what I've seen is like guys, like even mothers, right? They're caring towards the boy, but they're teaching the girl to be caring. Like, one is cared
Right.
for, one is taught to be caring.
Yeah.
And like this will still, like, maybe it's not for everyone, but it is something in our society. Like at least I see it, and it kind of, and it is like maternal instinct. It is something that is ingrained in women anyways, right? So it's not a
Very
bad
true.
thing,
We're
but
nurturing
it
people.
also like
Yeah.
has to be the opposite part as well. And I think I personally, so
Mhm.
one of my friends, like, sorry, as we were talking, this story came to my mind. One of my friends, Nathaniel, he's a really funny guy, and he has this thing about like the difference between men and women. Um, that like just cracks me up, but also makes sense. And he's like basically, in essence, and any guys who listen to this probably will be like, oh, well, why are you saying this? But men are dumb. All right, like I just gonna say this. Like, let's go back thousands of years. Look at a tribe, like uh, a tribe of people living somewhere in the nature, right?
Mhm.
And what happens in this group of people is women normally think more economically, right? They're thinking about like, we have the crops, we have the domesticated animals, we're gonna like save ourselves, like, we're gonna have food, we're gonna do this, do that, do that. Like they have like all these like logical takes. But the men, they're like, yes, we could continue fishing. But you know what's really cool? You know that really big fish in the sea that could topple over our boat and kill us all in one sweep? That really big one that's really hard to kill. Let's go and hunt him, like, a whale. And then
Let's go
like,
stab
and yeah,
it.
let's go stab it. Like,
Over
what
and
happens?
over.
It's like, yes, I could eat this small fish, but I want that big fish that can kill me. And then what they do is they pick all the able-bodied men in the village, and they go and try to get like, kill that big animal. Like, I don't know
All
where
the
like
bros.
this.
They get all the bros in the
Yeah, they
village.
get all the bros to go and do that, and then like injure their back some deadlifts. Like that's the bro
Yeah.
mindset, pretty much, like hunting a whale. So I don't know. It's something about like conquering or like, proving like that
Mhm.
you're the best. And like, I guess again, it goes back to like, if whatever you want to believe in, like, but if we go back to primate mates, you had to prove like a male had to prove to be an alpha male to be able to get like the suitable mates or something. I don't know if that's
Mhm.
something that actually lives
I'm like, yeah,
still
that
in a,
checks out. I'm not.
yeah,
I
right.
don't know why
Right.
I'm pretending I'm an
I
expert
know.
on
No,
evolution, but
evolution, but it sounds correct. Like they used to do that. I don't know if it's still ingrained in us. And if that's the case, probably I'm not an alpha male because I don't think like that. But who cares? Because like we're not animals anymore. We've gone so far away from it that like those parts of our brain will still have some sway over how we think, but also we have the like, the power of like consciousness, right? We can make
Mhm.
decisions. Decision making is different from like evolution will guide you so far. then like the first 5 steps is evolution. After that, you have to take the steps yourself, and either you let yourself be governed by your instincts or you just make decisions. So
Well, and the same could be said for like women in the tribe too. They're like, I have to make babies and keep
yeah,
the human race going. I'm not going to go hunt the biggest thing in the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, think about this,
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Let's
See,
stay and forage and like, So like, there's similar things going on there. I remember reading once too that, and again, it could be absolutely irresponsibly generalizing here, but that men's brains are very good at focusing on one thing.
Mhm.
Right, so there's one thing and they can be singular in that. And I'm sure you guys can multitask maybe a little bit too,
No,
but
we
like
can't.
you're
No,
good. I'm trying to give
no,
you the benefit of the doubt.
no, 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 I can't.
Whereas women's brain, and both can be like bad and good, right? Like, so there's
Yeah,
benefits and drawbacks to only being able to see one thing. You can hyper focus on one thing and be very specific, but other stuff gets blocked out. Like my partner cannot hear me if he's doing anything, and I'm like right next to him. Whereas women, we see all and think about all, and we see everything, right? And that's great, but it's also a detriment too. Whereas it's harder for us to single down and to pare down. And I saw it represented, and I remember reading that, and then I saw a client again, and I realized that at the top of her deadlift, she does like a scan of the gym. Every single rep goes
yeah.
back down top, and she like scans the gym. And I was like, are you, what are you looking for? And she was like, what do you mean? She had no idea she was doing it. She's like, I do that? Oh, that's so weird. And so I gave her a spot to look at and whatever, but I find it's like a scanning of safety, right? And
Yeah.
it could be, it's 2021, but I do think some of these things are still built into us.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it is like evolution to a certain extent, and we can't get rid of it, but like play your cards right, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the single minded. So like if you want to know how like one dimensional we are and we can't multitask, have you ever seen a guy try to like reverse out of a garage and they have to turn the music down? Have you seen it?
No, but I can picture it in my head.
It just happens like when we like every time I need to focus I have to put the music down, right? Because it's just like the attention
Right.
has, as you said, it has to hone in into one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas women could be like breastfeeding and backing out of the garage
Yeah,
and changing the song for you and
exactly.
and
I'm
making dinner or something. Yeah, right.
pretty
Hmm.
capable of that, right? It just
Yeah.
comes out. um
Huh.
but now I have like, this brings me to a question, because like I think I know you've made some posts about it, and you have your opinions, but I'm going to ask it anyways, even though this is your podcast. I don't know why I'm asking this, but
Listen, I
we
love being
kind
asked questions, so keep
yeah,
going.
it's the best. We talked about like the differences between men and women, and maybe like we didn't intend for it, but when it comes to training, you know where I'm going with this. Do you think there's much difference between like how men and women should train, or do you like, for
Mm,
you, do you approach your male and female clients differently?
not really.
Yeah.
I mean, save for like being aware of a woman's cycle, and if she comes in the gym, symptomatic and not and feeling off, then it's like, okay, when's your period? Da, da, da. Like those conversations happen.
Yeah.
Um, no, other than that, not really. How about you?
Mhm. Yeah, no, because
Yeah.
you know what we said, like even whatever your past, or like your I forgot the word for it, whatever you're drawn to, we can
Mm.
like, if we teach them both in the gym that they can like train the same way. Because like, as you said, like women, if you tell them like pick up the 30-pound dumbbells and they're like, I can't do it, then you're like, no,
Me?
no, you
I
can't. Yeah, me.
cannot. And it's like, I've been working with you for a while. I know what you can and can't lift, go try it. If
Exactly.
it doesn't work, we scrap it.
Doesn't
It
work.
always
Yeah,
works. Yeah.
exactly. That's their like, that's their like brain, like their instincts talking, right? But then
Hmm.
if you treat them like there is no difference between you and a guy, like you both are the same, like just go and try. Like it's not about can I or can't I, it's more about like I will try it and try my best, and the outcome depends on like whatever, like it can be whatever. So like I think like, if you, in that sense, if you treat them equally, it's just like, it's an action that I want you to perform,
Hmm.
and whether you do it or not has nothing to do with like your gender or who you are, right?
Hmm. And probably a lot of the work I do with women, and maybe you too, is undoing a lot of that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I should be using this type of weights, and we should be doing more cardio, and we should maybe be doing that. And you just kind of redirecting them out of. And I hopped on your website earlier today to just kind of get a little, because I know I have a sense of you through doing a podcast with you and through Instagram, but not
Yeah.
actually business wise. but I saw that, I'm cutting down the information from the internet and helping you kind of redirect I don't know what words you use, but I was like, okay, that's what it says on my website too, because there's a lot. Oh, you used a great word actually.
Maelstrom of
Yeah, there
misinformation.
it is. You knew the word.
Yeah.
I was
Because
like,
I was so
wow,
happy
great
when I
word.
came up with that. I was like, wow,
You got
that's it.
thesaurus.com up. And
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, a lot of it is cutting down through that stuff. Like, well, I'm a girl, so I should be doing this. And it's like, and it's cutting down and actually making the two things seem a lot more similar. However, my personality and the way I speak might change a little bit, not intentionally, but that's just like what good coaches do. You can probably morph to quite a few different personality types or people. Some people don't and they just stay specific. But for the most part, we can kind of mold and blend to who we're talking to, because we're personable people and that's why we're in this job. And I think we all have a mixture of, everybody absolutely does have a mixture of masculine and feminine energies in them. So it's just about like the dials, right? And turning them up or down and whatever that client needs that day. And maybe a female does need a more masculine energy from me in one day, and if they're testing or something, or maybe they need it. You just kind of mold yourself to the client while keeping yourself true, of course, as well.
Like you just said it, personable. We are personable people. It's called personal training. We just have to connect to people on a personal level, and like I'll be what they need me to be on that day. And like it just comes through experience, and like you just learn how to kind of, it's a give and take kind of relationship. Like you have to be able to tell them to do stuff, but also you have to be able to like sometimes let them do what they want. And like that changes from like being even like maybe eventually down the path, because like even using masculine and feminine, I don't know if it's right or wrong nowadays. Like maybe from a more aggressive approach to like a more supportive approach, like this is the spectrum that you can just like kind of dial it in and out and choose what they need. But that comes from experience and like working with people.
Yeah, I did a podcast about like hormones and the menstrual cycle, and the words men, women kept getting thrown out, and I was in the middle of it, and I'll do it right now. If I'm misspeaking in any way, are there words that I should, or maybe, like maybe not should, but if there are suggestions that anybody could make, if I am misguided in my language, please let me know, because I'm learning just like everybody else is too, and I don't want to be saying anything, but it's so hard, because you're like, men are like this, women are like this. Damn it, should I be doing that? I don't know.
Exactly. But same. Literally what you said, like if I use anything wrong, like do tell me. Especially I know I said gender at some point, and literally the moment I said it, my head was like, and then I said like men and women. I was like, I wanted to like kind of go back to that and be like, but also like there's not just that. There's like I do recognize you can like
absolutely.
And we're human, like human in all of its glory and difference, right? Like it's a spectrum. It's not, you can be whatever you want. So if there is something that like used wrong by me, especially because like this happens to me a lot. I'm a very talkative person, but as I said, like I started speaking English when I was 15. So I've only spoken like I've only done this for the past 15 years. Like half of my life, I never spoken like a single word of English. So sometimes I say things that come off wrong.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Like, but I'm always open to like changing what I like, because if that wasn't my intention, I just said it. And like no matter, like school wasn't great enough to learn English from, so my English is just like learning it from movies, reading books, and like listening to music and things like that. So sometimes I say things that I've like learned in the 2000s and not acceptable now anymore. But like that's just right
in some movie, in some Jessica Alba movie back in the 2000s.
That's
that's where I learned my English.
Sin City. But yeah.
Is that your favorite Jessica Alba movie?
Yeah, I would say that. Like, but I just like Sin City. Like it's a great movie. But
if anybody's wondering, I was on Mahan's podcast and we just ended up talking about Jessica Alba a lot, because I was talking about body image, and one of her movie posters is what like triggered me into when I was in puberty and it started though, and not, she was definitely not the case, or she was not the impetus for that to happen. She didn't cause the maelstrom of body image issues that followed. But that's what we're talking about, and so now we just have a running Jessica Alba joke, which is great. I love it.
We don't have an obsession with her. Wink wink.
No, I mean, and I don't, she's got her company now. I'm sure she's doing great, and she's a mom and stuff. Jessica Alba just totally took my brain out, but
Yeah,
It's very interesting where we're talking about language and making sure that we're using the right language, right? Yeah, and that's tough too. I'm thinking of a story. I had a client for a couple of years, and oh no, maybe it was just 1 year, because it was this event, this thing that the story I'm going to tell will tell us that it wasn't too long. It's about a year or so, and maybe like 6 months into training, so like halfway through, they said to me, "By the way, I go by they," and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And she hadn't told me for 6 months of knowing her, right? But it's also up to me to be asking that question. It wasn't up to her or they, see, and I said, "Listen, this is the first time I've had to deal with this. I'm going to mess up, and if I do, please tell me, and door is always open for you to be correcting me and helping me out through this journey." And this is a few years back, right? So it was relatively new too, because the last thing I want to do is be like, "Oh my gosh, my trainer's walking around the gym," because I was like, "Oh no, she's done on that," and I kept doing that.
Yeah.
Just so you know, it's they. And poor thing had to like muster the courage to tell me 6 months into training, and it definitely wasn't their fault for not letting me know. It was it's a conversation that needs to happen, and I've got it on my intake, and it's something that needs to be just out there discussed, so that people don't have to be brave and bold and say that to you, right? Because that's hard to do. It's hard to do for anybody.
Yeah, it's very difficult, especially like you and I spend a lot of Tim. Who's Tim?
We spend a lot of
We
time.
spend a lot of Tim, it's a new
That currency in the UK.
Yeah, like Tims, you guys don't have Tims? No, we spend a lot of time in the gym, so like that barrier has been broken down for us, right? But it takes a lot of courage to even just go through that door, and there's like it's a whole new world. And shout out Aladdin, whole new world.
Shout out Aladdin. I'm gonna put Aladdin in my show notes.
There you go. Perfect. So yeah, they have so many things that they have to like adjust to. So this is another thing, as you said, it takes a lot of courage to actually like bring this even up. So I love your approach to like put it in your intake form. And actually, like the moment you said that, was like mental snapshot, like mental note, sorry, that I should do that as well, because like it is a daunting thing, right? So it's hard for them to bring it up. So it'll be good to bring it up.
So it's good on a form too. I think I leave it out. Somebody suggested, I heard it from somebody else, and I was like, "Oh gosh, mental note, put that on my intake." And it was something I was like, I can't believe that's not on my intake yet. That's crazy. But again, like the world is changing, and we're all trying to learn together, and we're people who we just want to learn and be helped out, and we might still make mistakes. But I think that's like the best place to start from, right? As opposed to like pretending that or anything. It's like I want to, and coaching is so important. This factor in coaching is so important, and just having that communication door always open, and always be willing to, it's kind of like consent, right? It's like, yes, for the most part, when you start training somebody, and I'm sure you can attest to this being a male who works with females, you should be asking somebody the first time you see them, can I touch you? Is it okay if I touch you?
Yeah.
But it should also be like this ongoing practice of like, because I was talking to somebody about trauma yesterday and fitness, and consent is huge with people who've experienced trauma. And the thing about trauma is you just don't know how many people have dealt with something little or small or big, right? So having the consent piece be ongoing, and not every single day, but every so often checking in. I'm going to put my hands here. Is that okay? And just, it takes 2 seconds, and then that person can say yes or no, because it could be a no on one day and a yes on other days, and so just like checking in is very important. Oh, there's so much to our jobs.
Yeah, there's so much. Like even when we talked about like me filming stuff, right? I still
for
ask
Instagram, or
like for Instagram, when I put my clients on my stories.
Yes.
Like I've been doing it for a while, but I still like, even if someone has been on my stories quiet like a lot of times, I still like sometimes ask like, is it okay if I film this? I try to like, and now that you said, like I was doing it kind of subconsciously, but now that you said it, I'm like, oh, actually, that is another point to consider. Like, as you said, like people who go through trauma. This language is so difficult sometimes. Through trauma.
Well, it's also like nighttime where you are, so it's okay. It's also like my bedtime where you are, so that's fine. My brain's slowing down, and it's only like 3 p.m.
That's my trick. My brain is always slow, but
you get them.
It's like it's never working properly. But yeah, so like asking those, because like as you said, trauma like shows itself like out of nowhere. Like they could be okay with it for months, and then suddenly it just takes one trigger. Like it could be even a single word you say that just like re-triggers like a whole, like it's a chain reaction of things. So
Whatever happened in their
I don't
day
think,
before the session
yeah,
or whatever. Yeah, it's this thing that, you know, and same with filming that stuff too. Cause I remember I had a client who I asked in the intake, sometimes I'll be filming things for form. Is it okay with you if I post on social media? I also absolutely do not have to do that. And they said yes then. And then months into the process, I posted something on Instagram. They were not okay with it, you know, but
yeah,
that I hadn't checked in with that person again. So it's tough. And I've made mistakes. We all,
yeah,
you
we
only
all
learn
know.
from your mistakes, you know. And that experience, I was like, hey, I'm never gonna make this mistake again, you know.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah,
Like today,
really.
I filmed like a bunch of sessions, and then one of my clients was like, "Oh, is it okay if I film this?" And she said no. I was like, "Cool." And I feel like she got a little bit like she was like, kind of felt bad for saying no. And I was like, "No, it's
Oh
totally fine.
yeah.
Like it's about you. Like it's not about me. Like if you're
Yeah.
comfortable with it, like this is like your training session. Like you've trusted me to do this. So like I'm totally fine with not filming it as well." And she was like, if I'm like, let's do it another time. I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like
Sure. And
so,
you're a good person, and that, you know, like that's always step one, right? To making
yeah,
somebody comfortable. Just be a good person who's not out there for, I gotta get this on Instagram. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
really
yeah.
need this video of your
I
set on
need this.
Instagram though. So, you know, like no one's, I mean, I'm sure maybe there are people out there who do that, but no one's gonna do that. How do you deal with quite a few people who have never been in the gym before or who are beginners? Or is it mostly like
Uh,
intermediate, they've messed around before, like they know what they're doing in the gym?
they've kind of like, because I most of my business comes from people who are already in the gym, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. So in
So
the
I
space that you
approach
train.
them. Yeah. So if they're on the gym floor, like I see them and I notice they do something that like I could help, I just approach
Mhm.
them. So they're already like in the gym. Uh, the people who are not like for beginners are normally referrals.
Okay.
But also like not that many of them. Like I don't think I have that many people who've just never been to the gym. Like
Hmm.
it's normally like they're already going to the gym and I just like come try and help improve what they're already doing.
So getting comfortable being in the gym space isn't something that you run into a lot, or an issue that you run into a lot.
Yeah, not a lot. I've played around with it for like a couple of things. One thing that I did, so like the last one, the lady who wasn't comfortable, I was like, uh, she was kind of scared to come to the gym. So the solution I came up with, I was like, all right, so these are I'm going to send you a list of the exercises we're going to do. I'm going to film our approach from like from the gym, like when you enter, like these are the machines that we're going to do and like do the exercises.
Hmm.
So I sent all of those through to just kind of prepare her mentally of like what it's going to be, and I gave her time. Like I was like, these are the times that the gym could be like busy or like it's quieter. Like if you wanted quieter gym, these are the times that you can come.
Yeah.
So these are the things I sent her, and it was like, if there is anything else that I can send you that makes you like feel a bit more comfortable coming to the gym, let me know. So
Yeah.
that's one
That's
of the things I
lovely.
did.
I love that. Yeah, because that's you know, it's tough when people ask me, you know, how to get more confident being in the gym or how to get more comfortable with it. There's lots of tips and tricks, but you know, one of my biggest one is hire a trainer. Either
Yeah.
have a friend or a training partner who's willing to take you under their wing, and because that's what I had when I first started. But hiring a trainer, if you can, if you have the financial means to do so, goes a long way, because you have somebody who could do something very creative and compassionate like that, or at the
Mm.
very least meet you at the door and say, I know this is scary, here we go, we're going in together, right? And you have a sense of authority there because you work there and you're comfortable, and so like then they can kind of just hang out with you in that way
Yeah.
and navigate the space. But that's
Yeah.
really cool that yeah, sending her that ahead of time and just kind of like acclimating her slowly into the atmosphere is really helpful. I hate to say hire a trainer for everything and like that is my solution, but it's a
No,
good
it
one,
is.
you know, even short term, right? I've had clients even say was training a guy, and his girlfriend was going to Good Life on her own. She's like, I'm totally fine with my workouts at Good Life, but I also feel like I don't know how to use things properly, or like could just understand things a little bit better, like how to hold a weight, make sure I'm doing it right. Can I do 4 sessions with your
Mhm.
trainer? And I said, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. And 4 sessions turned into like 3 years, right? Because she was like, this
Yeah.
is great, I don't want to stop, which is lovely and awesome. But it was like, I know she's not going to want to just stop at 4 sessions, but I almost like love doing that as just even like a side Ooh, yeah, get the hair out.
Sorry.
If you're
It
not
was,
listening or if you're not watching on video, I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm for
sorry
you,
about
but
that.
you're missing some hair. You're missing
Some hair action.
you're missing some hair action from Mahan. But yeah, I loved those sessions. It was like, okay, here's a dumbbell. This is how you hold it. This is
Yeah.
this machine. You have this at your gym as well. And this is how you get into it and use it, because a lot of it comes from just like looking like you know what you're doing. And
Mhm.
that just so nobody nobody messes with you, right? Because that
Yeah.
can be another thing. How do you
I
approach
think
somebody in the gym to say, I'd like you to train with me? Or I think, like, what's that sentence? Or how does that
oof.
go?
So like again, this is gonna be like shout out to the same guy Nathaniel. Um, he's been one of my biggest business coaches. Like I think
Mm,
PTs don't like they need to learn business, and I was again lucky enough to have him around, and he taught me everything.
mm,
And how I would describe it, like the word is like I do it kind of a like not an aggressive sell, but a fast sell.
mm,
Sale, sorry, not sell. um And what I mean by that, like if I see someone doing things that like it's in my area of expertise, I
mm,
just go on, like I'm comfortable enough to walk up to them and I'm like, hey, can I have a minute of your time? Again, consent first. Like, can I have a minute of your time? Because sometimes people can just be like, no, go away,
mhm,
right? And then if they say that, I introduce myself. I'm like, hi, I'm Mahan. I'm one of the PTs here. What's your name? And then I noticed that you're doing these type of exercises. Uh, they kind of align with how I train my clients. I was wondering like what your goals are. And then once they tell me their goals, normally my third or fourth question is, have you ever worked or have you ever thought about working with a personal trainer?
mm,
Because I like bringing that question up as soon as possible. Because like we're in a gym, they know, I know, like you walk into an Apple store, they want to sell you
yeah.
products. They're like, what can I help you with, right? They're not gonna come and talk to you like, oh, how's the weather? Did you watch the last episode, like the
And
previous
if
night? Like,
and if they do, they're just trying to sell you an iPhone. You're
yeah,
like, quit
exactly.
asking
They're
me about Game of
trying
Thrones or whatever.
exactly.
I know where we're going with this.
So yeah, so like we term it like fitness flirting when PTs go and talk to someone and they talk about like the night before football and things like that. And the person knows you want to talk about business. So like just talk about business and like
Mhm,
get that out of the way. Because I
mhm,
feel like it's a little bit disservice if you go as a friend, because like you try to be the friend and like they say build rapport. I like building rapport, but after I've sold, like because I still care about
mm,
the person. But before that, like you're kind of leading them the other way. They're like, oh, I know he wants to sell, but then you keep talking and keep talking. They're like, oh, actually, maybe he doesn't want to sell. And like, if they bring those walls down and then you sell to them, it
right.
feels like a betrayal.
Mhm,
But for me, like, I do talk about that. That's why I have a rule. And if I coach anyone in business, I always have a rule of like, if you're not comfortable, have a script. Like, always say, like, try to repeat the same thing and ask about have they ever like about the business, have they worked with a
mhm.
trainer? That's my favorite question. Have you ever thought about working with a trainer or have you ever worked with a trainer?
'Cause your
um
intentions are clear, right?
yeah,
You've gotten your
intentionally.
intentions out there.
Yeah, and then they either they say yes, no, and then if they say yes, perfect. Even if they say no, now I can still be that person's friend. Like okay, now we can talk about like your interests. Let's talk about Game of Thrones. If you
Mhm.
like it, I'm a big fan. Let's like these things can come later, but at least I haven't betrayed them, right?
And then later on, it's like, oh, I am looking for a trainer now. That
Yeah,
guy was really and didn't push me, after I said no, and maybe I'll go see Mahan or whatever it is.
yeah,
It's very
exactly.
like adjacent to hitting on people.
It
I
is.
started thinking about that because I've thought about all the times I've been approached. And again, man approaching a woman at the gym, I tend to like, it's just like, don't, buddy.
It's
I
like,
can always tell the vibe of what's going
yeah,
on, right? I actually had somebody like step into, I was doing deadlifts and I had a guy come up and like, can I show you something? And you kind of like not pushed me out of the way, but like took my space behind my bar, lifted up my bar and showed me how to do it. And it was like,
that's the
please get
worst.
out from under my bar. I
Yeah,
was in a workout. I'm a
uh,
trainer. I'm a trainer. It was like a whole thing, right? But
yeah,
anyway, and same with being hit on though, right? You get the sense of like of men approaching me, okay, what's gonna go on? And they go start talking about, do you like books? Do you like movies? Once I said, of course I
Yeah.
like movies. And oh well, and then I'm trying to be nice and cordial, and we're talking forever. And then it's, hey, will you go on a date with me? And no, sorry, I've got a partner. And oh well, I wasn't asking because of that. And it just turns, right? And it's this
Yeah.
whole thing like, man, I could have said so many things. I could have been so rude to you. And all I want to do is just sit
Exactly.
here and yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's getting messy, but it's very similar. There's a way to do it, right? I'd rather somebody
Yeah.
just come up and be like, hey, I think you're really cute. Would you, whatever, like just get it out of the way, intentions, right? And like, no, okay, no problem. Carry on with your day. Thanks for, and I'm like, oh, thank you for the compliment. And it's like a lovely
That's
interaction,
it.
right?
There you
Which
go.
maybe
Yeah.
happen once.
Make it clear as soon as possible, because like
Mhm.
you don't waste each other's time, and like there's no like uncomfortable pauses, or like because
Mhm.
like there is that pause as well, and you're like, okay, here it comes, until they think of something else. It's like, oh, actually, like it's a cold weather we're having out there, and you're like, it's
Yeah.
just back and
Damn
forth.
it.
It's like
Yeah.
bottom and weaving, and you're just waiting to dodge it, and it's like a punch that never happens. Like you're
Yeah.
always alert, right?
And it's coercion in a way, right? It's like you're trying to like get me to open up about my interests and da, 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 and I just, what do you
Yeah,
want, man? What do you want?
just go for it.
Um,
And
yeah.
I think as a trainer, I've also learned, like, that's what I mean. Like, also, if I bring that up as soon as I can, they know I'm not here also to hit on them, right? Because, like,
Yeah.
as a guy trainer, like, I have to make my intentions clear. Like, I'm here for your bag of money. I'm not here for anything else. Sorry, jokes aside. So, like, it will make people comfortable. And I think, like, one thing that I've managed to do is, especially working with a lot of girls, is like make them feel comfortable enough around me that they can be on the gym floor and they know like my intentions are clear. So I just drawing that line in the sand, right? Just be
Absolutely.
like,
It's professionalism and it's also caring.
yeah.
Mhm. What other stuff do you love about training women? I just want to hear more of this stuff. Just
Um,
compliment women. Or what has
so
like been, go ahead.
sorry, like one thing that I like, and again, it might be because I train women more, but like one thing that I like, and I was like telling one of my friends as well, like as a coach, I feel like the knowledge you have is very important. Like it's very good to be knowledgeable, but at the end of the day, it's personal training, right? So I'm kind of like even going like kind of putting more effort into the personal stuff. So
Mm.
it's like for me now, it's all about the questions about, like, I ask it about family, I ask about work, I ask about relationships with friends, partners, anything else. Because as much as like us trainers like to pretend we're important, we're at most an hour of their day.
Mm.
There is like 15 hours that they do other stuff, and that will have more effect on the training that we're going to do, as
Mm.
opposed to like the training having effect on those 15 hours. So like
Mhm.
finding out more about that has become a hobby of mine. And but that, what I find, like, as to answer your question, is like I enjoy these conversations because I get to know like people, and it's always lovely to have these conversations. Like just like some things come up that you just never expected. Like, to give you an example, I always had this thing, like, because I come from Iran and I'm like traveling from east to west, I've dealt with certain difficulties, right? And like I had these things that, like, as a brown person, bearded like me, like you'll have issues. But I didn't realize that it had kind of given me this self of entitlement, because it was just like, I'm sorry to use this word, but like white people won't know this, right? Like I don't want to generalize and be like white people, but like I had this, like, because shit has happened to me. But
Mhm.
then one of my clients, I was talking to her, and she's French, and I was like just asking her questions, and then she goes like, yeah, I moved to China. So like she did the opposite trips, like from west
Mm.
to east, right?
Mhm.
And she's lived in China most of her life. And now like she has kind of faced with discriminations down like the other way. And like for me, it was just very interesting. It was like this fascinated me so much, that like someone has experienced what I go through, but like the opposite way.
Yeah.
And that would have never come up from like having these like a little bit more like not deeper even, it's just asking people questions, to be honest. It just comes up.
Because you're hanging out for an hour and you got rest
Yeah, you
periods,
just
and
have to ask
yeah.
questions. You have to find out like what helps them like, and it's for the training, because you have to understand where they're heads at? Like, are they ready to push further? Are they cognitively capable of like going, like, doing something that needs them like to pay more attention, or are they a little bit distracted? Have they had like, so all these conversations are important. I think that's what I enjoy. And obviously, like, I don't know, I guess like with my girls, I can just like be silly as well. Like there's a like, the element of like joking that I have. It just works, and we just like, it's a good time. It's always a good time. Like we're just laughing and enjoy, like having good session. But also, when they know when I need to push them, they will be pushed, because there is like a element of being a coach. But also, if there is moments to like just laugh and have fun and talk about everything, we can talk about it.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, that's what girls are great for.
Yeah, like talking, honestly.
Yeah.
Guys, we don't like I have some guys, and it's like, well, I've broken the barrier, but I've worked with them for such a long time that you break the barrier, like eventually.
Yeah.
Like, because being a PT is weird. You're not necessarily their friend, but they see you sometimes more than they see their friends or family.
Exactly. That's what I was going to
Right?
say. Yeah. Because yes, there is 23 hours outside of a session, but also sometimes you see people twice a week for 2-3 years, and that's more than they see their best friend, and especially during a pandemic, right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So like it's like a delicate balance that you just like, you want to like, you want to be similar to a friend, but also you have to be a coach. But so with guys, like the conversations, like you have to build it up, like like eventually now we can have conversations. But I know like when I start with a guy at the beginning, it's like a little bit harder to talk, especially, again, maybe it's my experiences, like the things that interest them do not interest me. So like, because they like to talk about like things outside of life. It's like experiences, like sports, like something like not about them, but about like their passion, right? But I'm more comfortable talking about like me and them, and like more personal stuff, right? And like something outside of that circle, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, but how does that make you feel? How do the sports make you feel? Like, I always tell this story where my boyfriend went, partner boyfriend, went on a golf trip with one of his male friends who was getting married the next day. And he came home from the trip, and I was like, how is Justin? How is he? Is he nervous? Is he excited? He's like, oh, I don't know. We didn't talk about it. And I was like, that is insane. If that was a bunch of girls out on the golf course, that's all we would have talked about. It's only feelings and how are you doing? Your wedding is tomorrow. And what's going on? Like we thrive off of that stuff. So, and there's nothing wrong with it. And there's benefits to both, and love guys so much. But yeah, I can see that being something that you would notice as a man training women, that you get to hang out and chat and what's going on, and it's more of a go-to of this is what's going on in my life, and all those interpersonal things.
Yeah, exactly.
And
emotions they will dictate the training, so you need to know about it. Like you need to know the state that they're at. But not to lie, I am like also like, I do have those manly moments of like, I just didn't ask, like, yeah, we just talked about like I'm not gonna say I don't do that, but like it's also interesting to like, just for me, I find humans really bizarre. That's why I love these conversations. That's why you and I had talked, and like we do podcasts and things like that, because for me, humans are weird, like, and I just want to talk to them to understand them better, because like it's just a beast of like, there's so many things that like you can just unravel, and you just keep going in and in. There is no end to it. So I find that fascinating.
And you have a life view, and then you meet somebody else, and you're like, whoa, life view expanded. Okay. And I love that. Well, I used to train somebody who was a journalist, and I was just always asking him questions about everything, like what's going on in politics. And he would say some word that I didn't understand. I was like, what is that? And or like he would mention taxes and what is that? And even as the pandemic started to unfold, he was the first person to come in the gym and be like, there's something really big happening and it's going to be very bad. And we were all like, what are you talking about? It's like the flu. And here we are. Right. And to this day, I messaged him during the pandemic, when I wanted to know more information on the vaccines, and he helped me out. But it was like, I love having this person that even though I don't train him anymore, I can still be like, hey, you, like, what is this all about? And you're privy to ideas that you never would have been, or worldviews, or I like asking people what they're all about. Maybe we're the same in that.
Yeah, I think we are. That's why like we're meshing, like, we've connected on that already.
Yeah. Plus gray hair.
Yeah. exactly. Like we just both
That's
of
great.
us.
Oh man. What's your least favorite part of your job? Because you've asked me that on Instagram before, and I wonder what your what your answer to that is, if you have one.
Least part of my job.
Nothing.
Uh,
Everything's amazing. Everything's sunshine.
yeah, everything's like not sunshine. It's like molten lava and like that's my happy place. It's just like heavy
Yeah.
metal
Chaos.
music and like chaos. Yeah. Um, least part of my job.
Or what maybe like what's your biggest struggle? What do you think your biggest struggle is in your job, or what's most challenging about your job?
Uh, okay, this is gonna sound weird because like most PTs like
Love it.
this. Uh, I the thing that I struggle with is actually when the gym is busy,
Oh, okay.
which is
Yeah.
interesting because like people want business and like the busy like I'm just like for me as like we're coming out of the pandemic and like things are picking up, I'm actually like not really happy about
Tough.
it like because yeah like the
Yeah.
more like people are on the gym floor like yeah, I get distracted like I especially easily get distracted by noise. So
Mm-hmm.
like when there is a lot of like people and hubbub and like there is a class and everyone's shouting like things like that, I just like I don't deliver the best quality of work that I would do because I get really distracted and I think that's not necessarily beneficial to my clients. So I even tell them I'm like I have had this conversation before. It's like um so I don't work evenings as much. I try not to, and that's why I'm here right now. Like I try to work
Yeah.
early in the mornings to like late afternoon. And
Mm-hmm.
I've told my clients that like if you want the best out of my services, try not to book sessions for evenings unless
Mm-hmm.
we have to, because you won't get the best out of me. So
I'm the
like
same, but
that's
just because I'm sleepy
yeah.
at
So
night, I'm like I can do it if you want me to.
yeah. Yeah, I guess
However.
like that too, because like we both I think we go to bed really early. I'm a morning
Mhm,
person. It's like evenings
mhm.
I'm just like going as you can. I'm always slow anyways, but like evenings I go down much
I've had that with
faster.
clients too, though, where some clients they're like, "Yes, it's busy. I love this. Like, I love the energy." And some clients
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, it's so busy in here. I don't know." And we got to find them a corner or whatever, right? But that makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm,
But I'm
perfect.
also a very old person in a young body, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I go to bed at 9 p.m. like I'm sure you do too. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I
Somebody tried
was
to schedule a podcast with me at like 8:30 at night, and I was like, "Well, my bedtime's 9:30, so like I if you want the
yeah,
best out of me, we're gonna have to make that an afternoon call."
exactly. Like I was
Mhm.
invited to a like actually it's funny thing is it's tonight. I got invited to a Halloween party and I was like, okay, yeah,
Ooh,
so what
early.
time it starts? And they were like, oh, it starts around 9:10. I just looked at them and was like,
Is this
no.
person 22?
Yeah, like no, they're 28. But
Oh, okay, okay. Well, still in their
right?
20s. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still in training. I was like, do you not know me? Like, but the introvert inside me literally like just closed up. It's like
Yeah,
9, like starting
yeah.
as 9.
Doors
Are you sure? Like,
closing.
yeah. So it's like, yeah,
Also,
if
any
I,
fitness people, I feel like you probably shouldn't ask them to do something at like post 8 p.m. even. Yeah, we're
yeah,
all
if they're like if they're young, they can still do it. I've had
yeah.
clients that like went to bed when I start working, and
Okay.
then like 4 hours later they came because like I do train students, so sometimes students can get like do some crazy
Yeah.
stuff that I used to do myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. I'm like my favorite thing. Okay, sorry, I know you asked like what I don't like, but I'm sure like you were gonna ask what are your favorites from your favorite parts of your job. One of my favorite things is to train my clients when they're hungover. I just love it. It's the best.
Are you still happy with your choices in between the rest
Yeah,
periods? Did you need
I
that last shot of Jägermeister? Maybe
e-
not, huh?
exactly. I like to make like I want them to use me as an excuse to stop drinking. That's like my aspiration or inspirations. To like be like they literally go like I have a session with Mahan tomorrow, so I can't have that fifth shot. Like that, I want
Yeah,
that
right.
fear.
I play the Sunny card. And I'm very like, you're gonna feel so much better when we're done this workout. And then when they're done,
Oh,
I'm like, don't you feel a little bit better than when you came in? They're like, yes. See?
oh, you're so nice. I'll be like, you're gonna feel this. Like this is gonna be the worst day of
Sweat
your
it
life.
out.
Yeah.
Detoxify on the gym floor. Do you drink very often?
I've stopped.
Okay, yeah.
So
Good for you.
it's been like
Yeah.
7 years that I haven't had alcohol.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't a I wasn't a good drunk, so I didn't like the
Mm,
person I was with alcohol. And so Brighton, if you know much about Brighton, like Brighton is a party city, like
okay.
it's a party center. So I was doing a lot of stuff like on top of alcohol as well. I don't know if we can say it on this, like on the podcast, but
Listen, Be Wellness Radio, and anything
yeah, all
goes.
right. Lots of different experiences, like obviously like alcohol, drugs, and everything else. And I used to smoke a lot as well.
Mm,
And on my 23rd birthday, I literally it was like the hardest thing I did, because like I'm a bit stubborn and I'm a bit like 0 and 1. So if I do something, I do it a lot. So that's why when I was drinking and doing like smoking and everything else, I was doing a lot. And then I stopped and I just went cold turkey from like one day and just didn't go back.
wow,
So
good
yeah,
for
until
you.
my 23rd birthday. You know, one of those days that you wake up and like never again.
Yeah,
And actually, luckily, I've stuck to it.
you actually did the never
Yeah, I
again.
actually never. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah, I don't really love it. I mean, I used to drink a ton in my 20s, but I think also too, once you get training
Yeah.
and being a trainer or training, you have to get up early, you have to be on it, and just
Yeah.
I don't know. And now my tolerance is so low that if I have a glass
Oh
of
yeah.
wine, I'm like, I'm so hungover. That was terrible. Why did I do that? It ruined my sleep, and it's just never worth it. It's
Yeah.
not as worth it for me anymore.
I swear,
To
I
do
think I still get hungover like just by the smell, like secondhand.
it.
Like I don't know, because if I go out with my friends, I still don't drink. But then I wake up the next day groggy, and I'm like, I didn't even.
Yeah.
Why?
Damn it.
Yeah, why? 'Cause, like eventually not even go out with those friends. Like my friends now know. Like I've been at house parties and I just leave early. I'm like I'm that.
Yeah.
They know I'm that type of person. As you said, like I tell them, if you want the best of Mahan, like ask me out for brunch.
Yeah.
That's it.
I also pride myself in knowing the moment when the party has peaked, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go home now. And people are
Yeah.
like, why? What? I'm like, this is the best it's gonna get, and this is perfect time. It's pre 10 p.m. I'm gonna get home. I'm gonna even 10's late for me on a normal night, right? But it's like
Yeah.
I love that. Whereas most of my friends are like shut it down people, and they stay the extra 3 hours, and I'm like, no,
Oof.
I don't need. I've stayed the extra 3 hours before, and it's never worth it for me. It goes downhill from here. I'm pretty good at being like, this is it. This is the peak. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you always, I mean, personally, I feel a lot better the next day too. And that's important to
Yeah.
me.
Exactly.
Mhm.
As you said, it is part of, I think it's like part of our lifestyle. So it's important. And like I'm sure you do it as well. Like as we said, we want to be professional. If I'm not at my best, that is a disservice to my clients. Like
Oh,
so
and
that's
doing
why.
our job hungover is not easy.
Yeah,
It's not something I would
it's
recommend.
not. Or even low on sleep. Like that's
Yeah.
why sleeping for me is so important, is because again, it's how I deliver my sessions. Because I know if I'm not like, because there was a time like maybe 3 years ago that and this is like a story, like my ex at the time, she's like a night owl and I'm an early morning person, but I, because of her, I would stay up late, but then like go to
Mhm.
sleep at like 2 a.m. But I always wake up at 5 because I had to be at work. And like I remember that time, like those like every time you could find me out of session, I was sleeping on the mats on the gym floor. Like there's so many pictures of me came out that like I was sleeping, but uh
Yeah.
just, and it wasn't the best. Like I think I wasn't providing as well as I could have. So that's one thing
Yeah,
that's
of
very
course.
important to me now.
Yeah, no one's operating as well as they could if they're not getting enough sleep. Sleep is so important. And I know I don't have to tell you that because you're another trainer. It's so, so, so important. It's like the number one thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
It's recovery in like in its glorious form. Like there's nothing else outside of that. Everything else is marginal. Like I always find it funny when people do everything else, and I'm like, just do
yeah.
the sleep first.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult. I know people can have issues with sleep, and that's like a big conversation that we both of us are probably very passionate about, and like we can
Mhm,
talk about it for like hours, but
mhm. Until we
still
fall asleep.
until we fall asleep. Yeah. But like, yeah, that's another thing. Like recovery and sleep are pretty much synonymous.
That's it. Yeah, not sleeping while you're not recovering. And that doesn't even go like for the gym. It's like beyond the gym, like
Oh
showing
yeah.
up to your work meeting, like you will be more productive. And sleep is just one of those things that you can't catch up on too. You can't
Yeah.
repay
No.
that debt. It's once I actually learned about sleep, I was scared straight into like
Yeah.
better sleep. And I would say like read Dr. Matthew Walker's book or listen to him,
Thank
or
you. Yeah.
yeah, like I listened to him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I was so frightened by all of the information he put up about like predisposition to disease and things like that. And I was like, I'm killing myself when I get less than optimal sleep, and that's extreme. And I've definitely been a perfectionist in some of these health endeavors, but you got to chill at some point too, and enjoy your life. But like it's kind of good to be scared straight by the data sometimes, because it's like, oh my god, I don't want to shave 7 years off of my life or whatever the crazy number is, because
Who
it's
wants
high.
that?
Yeah.
But you pointed something out that like I think that this is again, I told you like you and I mesh because like we have these similarities, because I did, and I think you did the same thing, and I'm sure I did the same thing when I learned like from Matthew Walker and like Charles Sessler and all these things. Then suddenly I tried to make it perfect. Like I was doing everything for sleep, like everything. But
And
then
how stressful was that?
yeah, it got stressful. Like then that got stressful because it was like, oh, now I'm not like, oh my god, I missed that window of like I could fall asleep. Now I have to wait 90 minutes to fall asleep again. Like it became I missed like it became a little bit stressful because I was trying to do it too perfectly, and now I'm like kind of learning to like relax a little bit on that too. Like you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent. So it was funny for me that you said the same.
Yeah, and it's the same with fitness, it's the same with nutrition, it's the same with everything, right? It's hypervigilance, and it's hard because like yes, we want you to do things, but there's hypervigilance, and then there's not action or lack of action, I guess. I don't even know, but there's a spectrum, right? Like with anything in life, and the hypervigilance is great because you're trying to do your best. And I used to be like optimize everything, and like then it's I've that only lasts so long, and there's peaks and valleys, and you peak, and then it was like, this is not sustainable, I'm going to go back to living my life but keeping these principles. And you just kind of like marry it all together. You take information that you want from the places that you liked it from, and try to make it into something that works for you. And the same could be said about nutrition or anything else. There's no such thing as perfect, which is something else that I said on the podcast we did together, because it's so true, and
the Phantom podcast that hasn't been out yet, but it will be
man.
soon. It will be soon.
That? You heard it here first.
Yes.
V+Wellness Radio people. Everybody DM Mahan and say, where the hell is Vanessa's episode? I'm just kidding. You're a busy guy. You have sleep to get.
Yeah, like so much sleep. But
I used to like get really angry and like stress out. Like if something interrupted my sleep, I'd like freak out at whoever woke me up. And it's just like, I've learned to just, maybe I still will be like that, I can't say, but I've learned to just say, okay, last night we didn't get the best sleep, let's do the best we can today. And
exactly.
Because it used to just ruin my whole next day. Like, well, so and so woke me up, or the cat woke me up, and it ruins your vibe, right?
Yeah, like for me, like it's the idea of like, instead of perfection, having that buffer. Like yes, I'm going for the best I can, but there's a buffer period of like, all right, like if I didn't sleep 7 hours, like, or 8 hours, like a 7 hour is fine for today if I can catch up to it, or like things like that. But I would get annoyed as well. Like there's especially thing like in London, it rains, right?
Right. So I've heard.
So for everyone hears about, but when it rains a lot, I still am trying to figure this out, but there's something outside my window, like, so it's perfect. Like if you can hear the rain itself, there is no problem. But in my flat, everything's quiet, but I just can hear a dripping sound every 2 seconds. Something goes like, doo,
oh no.
doo.
And you're like slowly falling asleep, and then
it just wakes me up. And like, because it's not like, because it's absolute silence, and then there's just one drop that happens, and then once you become conscious of it, it's just like a clock. Then you start expecting it. And that's why I know it's 2 seconds, because I've like counted the time trying to like,
and somebody else might not even notice it, but you do.
Because like, as you said, like hypervigilance, like I'm like, oh, I need my sleep to be perfect, now this is keeping me awake, I have to fall back asleep. But now like it just feeds into each other. I'm like, now I'm more like, I want to sleep more, but because I want to make sure I want to sleep, I'm more awake and like conscious of this, and I'm thinking about it, and like I expect the noise, and I like, it just keeps going and on and on. That's the hypervigilance that you said.
And like I mentioned, it can be the same with working out. It can be the same with anything, right? Like trying to do it perfect prevents you from even doing it at all sometimes, or or you're stressing yourself out in trying to have the most perfect diet. And then when you do, quote unquote, fall off track or have some fun with your food, you're like, oh God, well, screw it. I might as well not even, and so there's like black and white thinking.
Yeah,
80-20 rule is the best.
it's the
80% of the
best.
time, kill it. 80% of the time, you do your very, very best. And then 20% of the time, you get a crappy sleep because you want to stay up and watch something one on a Saturday or whatever, or you eat the thing, and allowing yourself that 20% wiggle room, and really like actually being present and aware in that wiggle room of like, I'm choosing to enjoy myself as opposed to being guilty about wiggle room. Like that's important too, so that you can get back on the 80%, just like so your life has a lot more balance, right? 100% doesn't work, 0% doesn't work. It's that finding that middle ground always helps.
Absolutely, yeah. That's it.
Is that something that you I want to say preach? Is that something that you you preach, girl? Something that you convey to your
Yes,
clients?
convey.
Yeah.
I do, yeah, because like for me, it's even with like the 80-20 like applies to so many different things, not just life, like business, friendships, like it's a give and take equation that, like, to a certain extent, like you don't want to give 80% and only take 20, but
Yeah, that's true.
it would be
That
so
should be
weird.
actually be
Or the
50-50.
opposite. Yeah. I like to say that should be 60-40 on both sides. So I think both sides have to give more and expect less, but both do
Right.
it, not one
Okay.
side.
Okay. I need like a Venn
I think that would
diagram.
be a balanced, like that means you care for, because 50-50 again, I think, sorry, this is just jumping. It becomes like a kind of a competition in my head at least, but like if both people's goals are to give more and expect less, they both get more, even though they expected less, but they also like they're kind of feeding each other.
Yeah. I like that. Did you make that up or did you get that from somewhere? Is that the Mahan
That is a
relationship?
Mahan special. That is a Mahan,
Yeah.
like that's what I
Okay.
came up with. Like when I was thinking about the 50-50, I wasn't happy with the 50-50. So the idea
Right.
of 60-40 came to me.
I think it's Brene Brown, maybe, who
No, it's Mahan. No, I'm
it's
kidding.
I think that was Brene Brown. No.
No.
Well, let's get you a TED Talk and then we can talk about it, okay?
Yeah.
I think it was Brene Brown who said her and her partner do this thing where, and I'm sure this could be applicable to coaches and clients too, where like in the morning they wake up and say, my battery is on a, like say 60%. And the other person says, my battery's on 10% or whatever it is. You report your battery, your supposed battery life, right? And that way you can kind of go into the day knowing where that person is at. Or say one person's I'm at 90% today, great, well sorry, I'm feeling I'm at 20, so then the 80% person can help out the 20% person, just have the awareness, and again like setting the intention for the day
Yeah.
to be like, this is where we're at. And maybe it could be, I mean, I absolutely could be applicable in like coaching and client relationships, right? Like,
Yeah.
what percent are you at today, right? So you know how to go into that session and how hard to push, and maybe something much less than you normally do would be the pushing in that scenario, right?
But we do that like from conversation, right? Like, how was your day? Or like, they tell me, and like the moment they say, oh, like, the moment like they have that, like, oh, and then I know like, for me, I just, there are moments that I just like, the moment they come in, I can see it. Like it's a ball of tension. I'm like, all right, today we're just doing boxing. We're just going to get pads. Like we're going to do a little bit of this and then immediately go to pads, and you're just going to hit it because nothing else that I say is going to go through. Right. So, but like, that is literally asking their percentage, but like, we don't ask the percentage. We just know, like, it's building the conversations, right? Again,
you're so right that you can see it right away, and you can see when they're doing well too. They got like a glow and like there's a pep in their step as they walk in. You're like, you're doing great today, and they're like, I am. Yeah.
It's like, I got that promotion, or I did this, or I did that. Like, but
or I had
and that's
9
the
hours of sleep.
conversation.
All right, let's go. Yeah.
So like that's why I think like I'm going in circles, but I think conversations and like being a personal person, like a personal person, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
But
so.
like
Personable person.
like that's the more I coach people, the more important that becomes. Like again, the 80-20, like knowledge is important, but like 80% of personal training is being that person who can connect to people, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah. I remember when I was like making my very first resume when I was a kid, and I was like, what do I put on this? I've never had a job. Like, and my mom said, right, you're a personable person. And I was like, okay, mom. But it's true. It does go a long way. And I remember applying for my first coaching gigs when I became a personal trainer. And even in my interviews, I'd be like, I don't have any experience yet, but however, I'm very good with people. I was a bartender for years, right? And a lot of people would say to me, even the people interviewing me, that's good. They're like, you can't teach the personable stuff. You can teach the knowledge. We can put you through some courses. We can teach you the training side. You can't teach the social skills and being a nice person. You can't really teach that if you don't have that. It's unless you have a really strong drive to change or something big happens in your life, right? There's not a lot. It's nothing that will change you from being a skeezy, no offense, detox tea salesman or whatever we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, right? The people who just want the money and the clout and the sexy stuff, right? Like you can't really teach that out of them.
Or they want some sort of currency, right? Like it's not necessarily sometimes money. Sometimes they just want the attention. Like they just want to be the person who's right. Like it's some sort of currency they're like craving.
Right. And maybe I shouldn't have used the word skeezy because I can hold absolutely hold compassion for those people because there's something else going on in their life too, right?
You never know.
Yeah, and they're chasing love through followers or whatever it is, and that's okay too.
Maybe they're chasing attention. Maybe they're chasing it's a need. Now, who are we to say it's the right it's right or wrong? Like it's a need, but also on the other side, because I have this part of me, some of them are. I say sleazy. Where did you say sleazy?
I think I said skeezy, which is not a word. So you keep saying sleazy, the actual word.
All right, there you go. There are sleazy people out there as well.
I guess, and some of them, if you're hurting people, then absolutely, yes, that is wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
so we're not going to let them off the hook.
But I often think that about like serial killers and stuff too, right? It's like, how could somebody do this? This is so evil. This is so terrible. But at the same time, what happened to that person, right?
Yeah.
Like what, that I don't think a lot of these things are just, you're not born as a baby as a serial killer, right? Like that person had a terrible upbringing and wasn't loved and whatever too, right? So there's room for compassion everywhere, but it really sucks when people are just taking people's money and also maybe hurting them or their psyche.
In the long run. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. You too. Like
I see it on Instagram, based on Instagram and the two conversations I've had with you.
Thank you.
You could also be a serial killer. We don't know.
Success. I'm just gonna message my clients, be like, we fooled her. Well done, guys. Now go back and make me sandwich or something like that. That's the worst thing I could think of and say. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But you know what I mean? I was trying to be that bad person and like
absolutely
making the sandwich came
again,
up. But
for everybody listening to the audio, Mahan's a great guy and he didn't mean that sandwich comment.
Yes, it was just
and you can DM him anytime and ask him to make you a sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, I will. I love making bagels. It's like my favorite. Like it's my favorite snack. Like eating food, and I would make bagels for everyone because it's just so delicious.
Like fancy bagels or just bagel with cream cheese? Like
no, fast. Like I make like bagels with like eggs, turkey rashers, like sausages, chicken sausages, and like I just go crazy. Like then burgers in there, like a beef patty. I can make it vegetarian and vegan friendly. I just realized everything I said had meat in it.
Bagels. Well, yeah, it's okay. We can throw some tempeh in there.
But yeah,
it'll be all right.
So I am 100% comfortable making people sandwiches because it's the intent. Like sometimes it's the intentions that I like. Sorry, going back to some of the conversations we had. Like I told you sometimes I say things. It's just because I say it. Like it's the way I've learned to speak.
Oh right, we did, yeah.
Right, but like I think words will have power if there's intention behind it. If you just say like say things that like it's just part of your vocabulary, and you don't mean to hurt people, there's like obviously as long as you're willing to change it and try to prevent from saying it again, there is no harm in it, right?
I don't think you harmed anybody by saying you put meat on bagels. That's okay.
Yeah, no, I meant like I meant just go make sandwich. I still feel guilty about that. I still feel guilty. I'm trying to.
The fact that you've mentioned a couple of times that you're guilty about it is good. It's good. Yeah, you're right.
I really feel guilty. But like for me, like I watched a lot of this is sorry, I always go laterally
Don't be
and talk
sorry.
about random stuff.
Let's go into different planes of motion.
Yeah, let's go. One thing that I used to do is like, because I learned English through watching like a lot of Hollywood movies and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
So every time like something crazy happens, someone goes like, Jesus Christ. Or like,
Yeah.
so for me, that Jesus Christ, like saying Jesus Christ wasn't like, it was indignation or exclamation or being like, surprised by something. I never
Yeah.
thought of the words in itself. So I
Yeah.
used to say it all the time, like, oh, Jesus, Jesus, man, this, Jesus, because I've learned it in that sense. I didn't learn it through like proper values. So I had a very Catholic friend, and like when I would say this, it would offend her,
Right.
right? Because like I
Yeah.
didn't mean it in that sense, but obviously that's what she cares about. Like she would be like,
Yeah.
come on, what if I came and said like Muhammad something? I was like, well, go for it. Like I don't mean it in this. Just go. Like
Mhm.
why not? Mom, like just suddenly shout
Like it'd be
Muhammad
weird,
peace
but
upon
okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like but at that time I was also like very kind of childish and wanted to annoy her. So then I started saying Jesus crust instead, or cheesy crust, just to like not say it, but also like kind of be close enough.
Yeah. I
But
love
like
that.
that's the example of like sometimes language is just, again, I think intentions are more important than language, because some
Yeah.
people could use language but they don't intend to be harmful. Like, so we shouldn't always judge the language itself. We should also like kind of try to look deeper and like give a person, because sorry, this is me talk kind of hinting towards the cancel culture that we kind of have. And I
Mhm.
feel like it's important to make like keep people accountable, but sometimes like instead of canceling people immediately, like give a little bit of chance. As I said, have compassion for people, because it's not always their fault. Like sometimes it's
Mhm.
just words that comes out, like it's
Yeah.
a slip.
And don't be sorry. We can talk about anything we want to. It's my podcast. It's the
Perfect.
internet also. We can do whatever
Yeah,
we
so
want. That's so fascinating. Yeah, when you said that you learned English from movies and like that, and that you only learned it 15 years ago, like that's wild too. I've heard English is one of the harder languages to learn. Did you find that? Or no?
uh no, because I
I
maybe
guess.
I don't know, because I like it's one of the harder one, but it's also like you're really exposed to it a lot. So
Yeah.
I think like because of the rate of exposure, it makes it easier. Because
Yeah.
I tried to study French and Spanish as well,
Okay.
and I think French was a little bit more difficult. The most
Mm.
difficult language that I've like learned is Arabic, but
Mm.
because in Iran we're forced to learn it, and every time you force someone to do something, they start creating this innate hatred towards it. So
Mhm.
as a kid, I really disliked learning that language because it was pushed upon me. So that there was like this barrier. So I
Whereas if you found
found
it
it,
on your own, you might be like, "Oh, this is
yeah,
cool." Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
actually, like now that I think of it, it's a really beautiful language because it's
Mm.
very specific, and like it has like the wording can be very specific, and that's the beauty of it. But
Mhm.
because it was forced upon me, like I developed this resistance towards it. So when I
Mhm.
was a kid, I found it very difficult. But yeah, like I think English is, because of the rate of exposure that we have to it, it's like a little bit easier to learn.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
but
that's interesting too, because it's like if you partake in Western media or music, anything, right? It's
yeah,
everywhere. I can imagine
exactly.
that. Books, everything. Yeah. How many languages do you know?
At the moment, just Farsi and Farsi and English. But I'm trying to like get like either French or Spanish to a point that I can actually speak them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the cancel culture thing is interesting. I mean, we don't need to go too far into that to the point where I get emails or anything, but
I know we both get canceled.
might have already happened. Who knows? Somebody messaged me the other day because I said I started podcasting because I really liked the Joe Rogan podcast back when it started, and I don't listen to it anymore just because I don't have Spotify. I'm an Apple Music person, and it's gone now. Um, but I was a huge fan of him and his podcast, and just like he started this whole thing really, like
Yeah.
in terms of like the medium and how it is. And I just have a lot of respect for him, and I like the way that he interviews. I feel like I've always wanted to be kind of like an interview like him, where we're just having conversations and just go and he genuinely wants to pick out like, hey, okay, what does that even mean, like, and explain things to the regular people listening.
Yeah.
I've always really admired that. But anyways, somebody was like, doesn't it concern you that he's made comments about this and this and this lately? And it was like, of course, that sucks that he hurt people. That really sucks. However, that doesn't mean that he's also not like the GOAT, in my opinion, of podcasting and create, and like his work up to this date. You know what I mean? Like, I think both can be true. And the same could go for Dave Chappelle. I'm a giant Dave Chappelle fan. He's one of the best comedians in my mind. And said some shitty stuff on his recent special, upset a lot of people. And that really sucks, you know? And he's one of the best comedians of all time. Like, I think they can both exist in the same space. And people fuck up. I'm not denying that they fucked up, but I'm not going to say like, I'm not going to change my answer to why did you get into podcasting to something else because Joe Rogan said something once, you know, like that's not on me. It's not, I don't run Joe Rogan's life or his brain, certainly not, you know, so it's hard. Right. And maybe I'll get canceled for saying that, but I haven't even started yet. So joke's on you.
But but with that, like, I think people forget about, like, I use the idea of timestamps. I like, as you said, I like Joe Rogan when he started because he's a GOAT. Like, when you say you like Joe Rogan, doesn't mean like you don't support 100% of Joe Rogan. It's
everything that comes out of his mouth.
Everything's and everyone's perception is different anyway. Like, none of us experience reality the same way. So when you say you like Joe Rogan, doesn't mean you like the same things about Joe Rogan that I like. For example, I like about Joe Rogan. If I say I like Joe Rogan, right? So you can't be judged for that. Or, like, as you said, like, you just like parts of it or anything else that can happen. Like, I have this thing like about like certain actors and stuff like that. Like, some of their movies, they were really important to me, and it was like part of like my personality. And now they like, you realize they're like really horrible people. Sure, now that I know they're really horrible people, I will not support anything else they do. But it doesn't mean that's going to change the fact that like some of those movies are my favorite movies. Now I'm not going to say it, and I know some people are against it, and I totally respect their opinion, but like, for me, it's a timestamp, because at that time in my life, it's a turning point for me. Maybe I saw that movie and it made me think about something, and it kind of created this version of the person you see right now. So I'm not just going to say goodbye to that. But
that's
obviously
tough,
right. But like, obviously now I will not support, I think you know who the actor is, but like,
actually don't, but you don't need to mention it if you don't want.
So,
but I can think of a giant movie producer who's an absolute monster, right? But made hundreds of amazing films. He didn't make the film necessarily, but it's like it's they're producing art, and the art is beautiful. It's like a painter paints a painting, and then the painter does something terrible in their lives. Does it make the painting less beautiful, right?
Exactly. You can
However,
appreciate
I'm not going to
art.
go put money in that person's pocket necessarily, but I can still appreciate what they did because it's still art.
Because art is like, it's like the moment is on the screen, the moment it's on Spotify, the moment you've listened to it, it doesn't belong to the artist anymore. It's like part of like your consciousness, because like there is a reason you liked it.
Very
and
true.
your reason, again, is very unique to you. So that's part of your consciousness that you're liking. It's not even the music, it's what relates to you from the music. So that becomes very personal. So you can still be proud of that, but you don't need to necessarily like, yes, I will not support the artist anymore, but that piece in that time, in that timestamp, meant something to me.
But it's like that, as well as I can be very compassionate for somebody who was deeply offended by something that somebody did, or by Dave Chappelle's latest special, or anything, right? Like, absolutely, let's talk about that. It was shitty. It made you feel. I'm a big fan of like, feelings always trump the story of what's going on, like the data and the information, like how you feel about it. That's what matters, and that's a big deal. And let's address that, and let's go over that. Like, I'm more than happy to. And things make me feel certain ways too, that I'm like, I don't like that person anymore. You know, we all get to choose. We all have autonomy over what we like and what we follow and what we do and what we don't do. And a friend of mine messaged me today saying, I got my first hate comment, and she showed me the screenshot, and I was like, wow. First off, I always think it's a good thing if you start getting hate comments. You probably haven't gotten any.
Oh, I do. I did.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I think it's a good thing, because I think it means that you're getting big, right? Because people don't do that to small fish in the pond.
I mean, the first hate comment I
Really?
got, I wasn't even, I had like 200 followers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the guy, like, but I love hate comment because I think like when people are mean to you, that means you're doing something right. That's just my
That's how I
idea,
see it
right?
too. Maybe my tune may change once I get my first one, but I only
Yeah,
get guys messaging me telling me what to do. Like, you shouldn't have your knee in that position because you're gonna break your
yeah,
leg, and you
exactly.
shouldn't, mansplaining things to me. I've never had like hate or any of that yet.
No, what happened to me was I can't even remember. God bless him. He said like so my goal was for 2020 to deadlift 200 kilos.
Mhm.
And as I was preparing for it, pandemic stuff happened. So that messed with my plan. So we went away and then we came back to the gyms and I had like 3 months in the gym and then we went like, or 2 months, and then we went in another lockdown. So I was meant to have a month of peaking training to be able to attempt my 200. But then
Mhm.
it was announced that the gyms are closing. So I didn't have that month. So I decided to go for the 200 because I was like, in my head, it was like 2020, I need to do 200 kilos.
Love it.
And luckily, I managed to pick it off the ground. It wasn't the cleanest rep. I recognize that, but I
Yeah.
picked it off the ground. And I literally put the videos of like 170, 180, 190, 200. And it was like, in my opinion, 180 was the best deadlift here, but like I still managed to pick the 200 up.
Mm-hmm.
That was ages ago. And then
Still a
someone
PR, of
came and said something shitty about it, right? And I
course.
just read it. And my first reaction was like, you must have a sad life. Like, there is nothing else that you would gain from this other than like you have had a shitty life and you needed to like kind of shit on someone else. So I
Mm-hmm.
went to his page. I liked his comment and I was like, I appreciate your comment. And I went to his page and I saw he had like this beautiful picture with his girl. Like the latest post, he was like, it's a beautiful picture with his girlfriend, and he's like saying, "I'm grateful for like everything." And I commented underneath it. I was like, "Oh, like you guys look beautiful. I'm really happy that you're having a great time."
You say you commented, "Don't do that, you'll hurt your back."
Yeah,
Just kidding, just
no.
kidding.
For me, like, if maybe it didn't come from a good. I'm not gonna lie to you. It didn't come from a good part that like I
Mhm,
really wanted to be nice to him, but
mhm.
it actually came from a bad place. Like if I think of it, I wanted to kind of like annoy him. I'm
Kill
not
him with
gonna lie.
kindness, as my mom
Yeah, kill
says.
him with kind. I
Yeah.
knew if I go and say something very nice and very genuine, it will hurt him more. So I'm not saying I did it to make him feel better. I knew if I said something genuine, nice, it would hurt him more, and that's why I did it. I own up to
Like
that.
your honesty, I love
Yeah,
it.
but I did go and like his picture and wrote the most beautiful, like very sentimental, like nothing sarcastic or anything else. It was just genuine because it was a beautiful picture. I was like, "This is a beautiful picture. I hope you guys like have a great day." Blah blah blah. He deleted my comment and he blocked me afterwards. I was like,
Oh,
okay,
so he got it. He saw through
yeah,
you.
he saw through it, but at least I was like, but like that's how I reply to it, right? Or I
Mhm.
ignore it because like I did this. The other thing, like I kind of got like not necessarily a hate comment, but like I did this thing about like exercises, like weights being always pulled down to like due to gravity, the line of force is always down to the ground. So
Mhm.
like it doing like when guys do chest exercises like this, I was like, you're not necessarily doing your chest. Force of gravity is down, so like what's keeping your arm up is it's a shoulder exercise, but because you're contracting your chest, you feel like you're doing your chest. And I like wrote all these things, like try to explain it as much as I could. And then someone just like out of nowhere just messaged me and was like, uh, Google moment arm, you're welcome. And
Yeah.
I would like, I just looked at it. And I was like, I could reply to this, but also like this person clearly hasn't read what I've written.
And for
Clearly hasn't.
context, for like non-trainer people, moment arm is like a very like rudimentary basic concept you learn in like very
Yeah,
basic certs. Every trainer hopefully has come across that in your first textbook that you ever read about training. So
yeah.
it can't be, yeah.
Like basic physics, like pivot. Like imagine like you have a pivot, you put force somewhere. Like the greater the distance for like even if I want to simplify, the greater distance from that pivot the object has, like it'll be harder to move it.
Mhm.
But did I explain it right? I don't know. But
I
anyway,
don't know.
I tried to
We're
simplify it, and
tired.
I think I butchered it. But
It's okay.
anyways, like clearly, I do have to Google it now, apparently, because I
Yeah,
don't know.
shit.
But
Maybe he
what?
was right,
Yeah, he
Ron.
was right. He was right.
That's the hard thing about having an opinion though on the internet, or
Yeah,
not even opinion in like the cancel culture, like political kind of way, but like training as an example, like being a trainer and being like, this is the way that something happens. It's tough, and these conversations always go full circle, right? But
Yeah.
what we're talking about before is that like anxiety about posting something, and oftentimes we keep it pretty general and pretty tame because
Yeah.
there's other people with their fingers ready on the keyboard to be like Google
Boom.
mine arm,
Yeah.
and it's
They're
hard to be
ready
like,
for it.
this is a system that works, or this is it, because
Yeah.
that's when people are ready for it.
Yeah. But I have like, and this is from Killian. I have like some ideas of how to write my posts to like make it better, but I'll get to that as well. But I was just gonna say, like, the thing is, even if he was correct about moment arms, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about line of force, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, he's right. The moment arm would put more pressure on the muscle that was working.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. I agree with that. But we weren't talking about like that's undeniable. But my thing was, yes, it does put more force on the muscle that's working, but you're thinking the muscle you think it's working is not actually working, but the another muscle is doing the work. But my point is, like, I was like, he hasn't read my comment. He's just like skimmed through it and decided to like put his opinion down. So there's no point for me to actually reply to this, because like you don't reply to someone who doesn't even go through it. Or another person commented, was like, so what? I was like, well, genuinely nothing. Like it was yeah, just do you.
So what?
So what? Like,
ouch, that's so simple but cuts, right?
I don't know, it's like,
so what?
I see these and I just laugh, because I'm like, well, again, like, you have to have a really bad time to come and like talk to someone like this. But also like with my post, like, this is what I picked up from Killian Hamilton. He's like, no one can argue with your opinion. So like, I've started kind of being like, in my opinion, this could be, or I'd be like, this exercise could be beneficial to, like, having these like kind of buffers in the comment. Like, and if someone says some shit about it, well, they haven't read it, because like I clearly made it, like, I put it out there that like,
my opinion,
this is my opinion, or this could be, or this is a suggestion, or like, I found this works.
To me, this is how
yeah.
it goes.
So like, and then like that kind of filters out how I'm going to react to the comments, because like, if anyone says something bad, I'll be like, well, you haven't read it, or you didn't understand it, right?
I think there's different types of hate comments too, though, right? Because like this is like technical stuff, like analytical, like, oh well, you're wrong about like this, like opinion stuff. And then there's like the friend who messaged me, it was basically like, you're disgusting and I feel terrible for your boyfriend. And it was like, oh my goodness, like that she got that on one of her posts. And maybe that's like another difference between guys and girls. I don't know. Maybe guys get those types of comments, but it's a lot more like about our looks, or like, like, you look manly or whatever. I've never had any of these, but, and there's a wonderful account. I think it's, you look like a man with dots in between the words. Have you seen that?
God, yes.
It's wonderful, but it's also very triggering. Like sometimes it's the first thing on my feed in the morning and I'm like, no, I can't, because it's just all the terrible things about the internet and women lifting and guys responding in the terrible shit that they say.
Exactly. Like, for me, like, I love that page, because like, I like that they're like, bringing these up to like showing people what actually happens. But also the comments, like, not even like, obviously it's sad that, and we cannot deny it. I do not understand how people keep still denying it, that women get the worst of it. They do, right? I don't know how
that's
people
how I
can
see
deny
it. So
this.
it's like good to hear a non-female.
Like they do. And if you're denying it, I don't know, like, you're not, like, you're in denial, I guess. But what triggers me even more is, like, first of all, I feel a little bit ashamed of all those comments, like, but also like, I try to kind of disassociate myself and disassociate the comment, and I'll just bring it out. I even like kind of in my head gloss over the genders. I'm like, as a human, how do you like get to a point to say that about anyone else? Doesn't even matter that it's a girl. It doesn't matter it's a woman. Like, you just, how do you say that about a person?
Because you got a screen and a keyboard in front of you and you're miles away. That's the only reason. They would never be at the gym saying that. And
they can, or like they say it to their friends, but it's just like, how is it first of all acceptable, and how is it like, can you disassociate yourself so much from reality that to say that to someone? Doesn't even matter if they're a girl, but sadly it's normally said to women.
Again, like, I love that page so much, but it also like makes me sick sometimes. It's just a representation of actually what's going on the internet, but sometimes I'm like, no, I can't see the real internet today. I'm too tender. I can't do it. Yeah,
It's
so
too
and
painful.
the recent post was just like, it was like
Yeah.
I think it was a slide of a bunch of women on the internet, and a couple of them were celebrities, and it was just pictures, and then just like, ew, and the comments underneath like, ew, you're
Yeah.
disgusting, you're the like terrible words, and
And
then
then
the
the
next
picture
slide
of the
would show
guy,
that,
right?
yeah,
Oh,
then what they, and,
loved it.
sorry to those guys, but also maybe not sorry because
So
they put themselves out there in that
they
way.
put their
But it's
opinion.
like, yeah, and it's just like it's a funny
They
comparison.
they look like a punched up potato, and then they're
Yeah,
like,
and they're like,
shut
you're
it up.
disgusting, to like
Yeah,
Jessica Chastain on a red carpet or something, just
I
being
know.
beautiful.
Oh, bless them. But also, I'm gonna
Uh,
say this, like, yes, I think like I did miss that part again. Like definitely the hate comments I get, as you say, it's more of a technical part. Like my body doesn't get questioned. I wish it did, because if they
come
say
at me.
something, they come at me, bro. But like, yeah, it's not
Oh,
fair to your friend. Like, because again, why would she go through that? Like,
yeah,
if you don't like it, don't follow it. Don't look. Like people
yeah,
look.
basically what she said to
Like we
them.
have this expression in Farsi that I like, that when you translate it, it sounds really weird, but it says like the cat couldn't reach the cheese, so he complained that it smells. So basically,
Mm,
it's this idea of they can't have that, so
mm,
they find flaws in it
right.
and they make it, like they announce it, and they have to
Yeah,
announce it to the universe. So like
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's like, I'm so sorry to say this, but he's like probably perving over your friend, but he can't
yeah.
have that, so now he has to like pretend that like, oh yeah, it smells like, oh it's like,
Mhm. You can use perving as an adjective. That's okay. Again,
yeah,
anything goes on my podcast. I'm
not
sorry
perfect.
that I swore on yours. I did.
No,
I
it's
think I said the
perfect.
effort. Is that why the podcast hasn't come out yet?
Yes, no, like the podcast hasn't been out. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, Louis and I have been in a little bit of a hiatus because we've been a little bit like lazy to get our episodes up. So what we're doing is we're building like a bank of episodes, so we want to have like 6 buffers before we go back on, so we won't miss any more episodes, because we rather
Absolutely.
not have episodes out rather than like give episodes out very infrequently. So right
Why?
now we're
Because
just building
consistency
it.
is so important.
Exactly. Consistency is important.
And
So
patience.
exactly. So
Everything ties back into fitness.
always. Oh, fitness, and like that's another podcast. Like just how things you find, like fitness things you find in life. But yeah, that's the reason.
Yes,
So
it's
like you're,
absolutely fine. You do what you need to do. I'm just joking when I'm pressuring you. It's just kind of fun to do.
it's fine.
The podcast. Okay.
But yeah, now it's gonna come out next week. Like we're already to a couple of episodes that we're happy, so we're gonna start rolling out the episodes. So like next week,
Awesome.
your episode is first, and
As it
then
should be.
it should be like I don't even know why. Like
Just put out my episode 10 times. You don't need the other
yeah,
one.
exactly. Like just release it in small parts. Like keep people on their feet, right? It's like this.
Yeah. Drive them insane so they
Yeah,
never listen to your
just
podcast again.
cut it halfway
Just
through a
Vanessa girl.
sentence.
Yeah. I did want to circle back to the type of hate that you were describing, of like fitness posts, because I think that is something that is tough in our industry, and we'll go soon because you probably have to go to bed.
Oh, I'm loving this, and like this is one of
Oh,
those
great.
buffers. But like the only thing I in my head is like the size of the podcast for you, because like I don't know how like
Oh,
it will affect your episode, like uploading it and things like that.
I don't
Because
know.
it's
I
just
think
gonna
it'll be
be
fine.
bigger.
We'll find out. Again,
Yeah,
the podcast is still in its infancy, so
yeah.
I'll figure that stuff out. I'm
Maybe
happy
I'll
to
be your
roll on.
first double episode, because like it's so big that you have to
Maybe,
actually release it in 2
yeah,
parts.
yeah, and we can build up
Yes,
anticipation that way too.
there
Part
we go.
one, gotta wait for part two. Um,
Cut it at a
fitness.
sandwich comment and then be like, did he apologize?
Yeah.
Did he not? We'll find out.
Is he a terrible person who
Is
wants everyone to just go make him sandwiches?
You know
We
how you
shall
said at the
see.
beginning of episode, you were like, I actually don't know if you're a terrible person or not as well.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go. Bam.
He is. Surprise, we're back for part two, and Mahan is really sorry
He's really
about the
sorry.
sandwich comment. For the 4th time in this episode, Mahan's really sorry about that.
I'm still thinking about it. Like I genuinely am still like, I'm like, is there
I'm
anything
like
else I
that
can
too, though.
say?
I speak very quickly as well.
Yeah.
First off, well, not first off. Welcome to the podcast. Just kidding. Let's start recording now. What is your astrological sign? Do you know?
Pisces.
Ooh, you're a dreamy guy. You're romantic and dreamy, right?
Oh, oh,
And like mystical. Is that true?
yes.
Yes.
I mean, I
Do you know what
think
your
I
other?
am.
Yeah, that's what Pisces are. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very like in fantasy land. It's okay, own it.
I
Do you know
mean,
your other signs? You've got like a moon sign and a rising sign. Do you know those or no?
no, I'm not like big on signs. Like I do
Fine.
agree that people who are born in different months, like will like because of like early in the year or like late in the year, it will affect their personalities or how they're brought up. Because like even when they go to school, will get affected by it. So I definitely agree with like months, but I've never
Totally.
gone deep into the signs itself.
Okay, nobody's into astrology. A lot of people
Yeah,
hate it. A lot of people get
yeah.
angry when I mention that I am into
So,
it. So
yeah,
it's okay.
it's like it because there is science behind it. Like there is actually
Yeah.
like there is research that shows like kids born like in January will like have more potential. Like I think there's the book by is it Saeed or something, like I forgot his name, but there is like even in relation to sports, like people
Mm,
who are born towards the beginning of the year normally are like more like they go further because like they'll be
mm.
the biggest kid in their school year, right? So they always have like
Right.
these advantages over the other kids because like
Right. I never would have
they
thought of that.
bigger, they like so yeah, that's why like I think there's some science to that, definitely is science to astrology because
Hmm.
it will affect what the kid does, where in society they'll be, and all these things, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
it kind of like sounds true, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I was just curious as to why we get along so well, and I was like, maybe
Yeah.
we're the same sign, but I
What
know a
sign
little
are
bit about
you?
Pisces. I'm a Gemini, and Geminis love to talk and communicate, and
All right.
so I was curious if we were on the same wavelength there.
Hmm.
But I'd be curious to know your moon and your rising. That's okay. I'll figure it out for you. I'll
Okay,
let you
how
know.
do I do that? Now I'm curious. Like, how do you
I'll figure.
figure out
I
the?
got some apps.
Okay, sweet. Go for it.
You can Google it too if you want to.
I'm
If you know the
I'm
time
fine.
you're born, it gets a lot more accurate too. But if you're not
Uh,
into it, that's okay. I understand people get really upset about it.
I think it was early in the morning, like
Oh, okay.
3 4 a.m.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it's good to know the
Yeah,
general time. Yeah, okay. I'll figure it out for you if you want to get
sweet.
into astrology tonight.
Can't
Let
wait.
me know.
That'll be episode 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Mahan's astrology reading. I'm
Yeah.
gonna figure out how to do astrology readings. No, I just Google it.
Mm.
What I was saying though about fitness and our industry, it's tough with posting. I talk about this with a lot of other trainers because there's that instant anxiety of like, are people going to talk shit about this? And the
Yeah.
only reason I think that that exists is because we've hung out with other personal trainers who all they do is talk shit about other personal trainers. So once so once you're outside of that and you're about to post something, you're like, oh God, I've
Yeah.
heard the way they talk about those people. So how are they talking about me? Right. And I
Yeah.
feel like, and no offense, love trainers, love fitness, but it is an industry where we're all working together, but we're also very separate, and everyone,
Mhm.
it's competitive, but it's also community. It's like and you got to roll
So
with the right
weird.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's an industry that's very judgy about the other counterparts in that industry. And I'm sure
Mhm.
it's like this in other spaces as well, but I found that a lot with fitness, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's, you can get really afraid of posting something or having an opinion or saying like, this is how gravity works when you're using the cable fly
Yeah.
machine, right? It can be hard to,
100%.
but the way that you find success is in having opinions and putting out solid, this is information that
Yeah.
I have, and come work with me because this is what I believe, right? It's tough. It's a
Yeah.
balance.
Or like I think two things for that, right? Like either people just don't care, like they're like, this is what I think, and I think this is why like that Dunning-Kruger effect, going back to the beginning, that's why people make it because they think they're right. They're like, well, I'm right, so
Right.
I don't care what other people say,
And
right?
sometimes those people find a lot of success.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they find the success because they're like, I don't care. Like, no, I know I'm right, and they don't
Yeah.
even recognize the rest of it. But again, our thing is because we've been to the bottom of this curve, we do think like there could be something right about what they say, right?
Yeah.
Because we know we
Humility.
don't know enough. But
Hmm.
like my counter argument for that would be like, who are we making the like the posts for? Because this was
Right.
something that I like picked up really early on. Is like at the beginning I was trying to sound smart because I wanted to be liked by other pre-script coaches.
Yeah.
Then I realized those guys are not my business. My business is my
Hmm.
clients, and like with my clients I do have to speak a certain way that I would like will sound basic to people who might like be on the same level as me, or like I want the, but let's be honest, I want the Jordan Shallow to like my posts. And you know what?
That's fine.
Like he likes the post where I'm silly, because he's obviously he reads all the like serious stuff anyway, so he likes people's genuine posts. So he actually, then I was like, okay, actually, like he likes me for who I am, I hope.
And Jordan Shallow is the creator of Prescript, who we said Shallow earlier, and I wanted to mention like who he was, and you talked about Prescript 2 seconds ago. So Jordan Shallow, shout out Jordan Shallow.
Shout out Jordan Shallow and Junta, because they're like the Jordan and Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know him. I don't know him too much. I haven't taken his lab yet. It's just killing me.
Oh, you should. Jordan Junta is
really
lovely.
Sweet.
He's
oh, nice. Yeah,
so
I
sweet.
That.
Yeah. If he listens, like, I don't know if he listens to it. He's the sweetest guy. He's so funny.
Nathan said that on my podcast. He's like, if Killian listens to this, I don't think Killian listens to my podcast, but okay, thank you. That's nice.
Sometimes you'd be surprised.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we never know. But yeah, so then I realized like my posts are directed at my clients. So then I can say stuff to my clients, right? Because like it's the people like them. So, and if someone comes and questions it, they're like, I'm like, this wasn't for you. Why are you here? Like again, in my head. So I think I can.
And how boring would it be if all our posts were made for other trainers, right? Unless you're trying to coach other trainers or you're talking to them specifically, like they are who you want your clients to be. But for the most part, we're coaching just regular people. So we're just talking
general public. I like how I have these opinions and I have the right answers, but I still don't do it. I still don't post towards my client. I'm like, you should do this. But
why is that?
I think you should. I'm lazy.
Okay, it's not like that you're scared or anxious.
No,
it's that you're just lazy.
Basically, this is a really like first world problem, but it's just so weird for me, is that for some reason when I'm at home, when I try to upload stories or videos to my Instagram, it takes really long. It like takes up to 5 minutes for like one video to go through. And normally these are the times that I just make those, like I have ideas about making it. And like there's been so many times that like sometimes even my stories come out of sequence because like it doesn't upload. Yeah.
I hate
so because of that, I get dissuaded. Like I have an idea. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this, and then I put it, and it's just like it goes like whoop, and then it gets stuck. Yeah. I'm just staring at my phone. I'm just like waiting, and it doesn't happen. And
then you're stuck on your phone, and your head hurts, and your eyes hurt, and you're just like, I don't want to be living like this. I want to be living my life.
Exactly. And that's why like it's easier to put pictures on. But then when I put pictures, like then for a picture you have to just write a caption that's like kind of catchy. And like I think videos like is a better mode of communication, especially if you're trying to teach. But if I can't upload a video, then that's why I stick to stories more, because like normally you have more success with those, and they're 15 seconds. So that is literally it. That's like one of the things that dissuades me, because like when I'm at work, like I forget what I want to make. And I normally remember it when I'm at home. And then when I'm at home, I just get dissuaded. Yeah.
And for me, I'm very like in the moment. Like this is what I want to post about. I used to try to like plan out my posts or like have a bunch like saved. And I have a couple like saved that I could post, but a lot of them I don't end up. It's like whatever like strikes me that day in that moment. I'm like, this is it, and that's probably what's more important to me anyways. And that's gonna like work better. Yeah, when Instagram isn't doing its thing right, or you put up a bunch of stories and they're all in the wrong order, I want to throw my phone against the wall or like just delete my Instagram. Like that's it. I'm not on Instagram anymore.
My OCD just kicks up.
Oh, because it's different. It's like this little device that you're like stuck to, and you're like you feel like a zombie suddenly, and you're just like, oh God, I am a sheep.
I'm a sheep. This rule, like I think Elon Musk says it, but like they were talking, he's like we already are cyborgs, but like our augmentation is just in our hands rather than being part of us, because like this rule, like it's part of us now. This is part of my consciousness, because a lot of my thoughts are in this thing. It's like it's just part of me, but
which is wild.
It's crazy, right?
It's cool and unsettling at the same time.
It's really unsettling. But going back to like the 80-20 thing that you said, like when I said it rules my business, right? It's for me, like most of my business is in person. That's 80% of my work. So the things I'm putting on Instagram is not necessarily to drive my business. It's just to have something on social media. And that's the 20%. So that's why with those 20%, I want to feel free. It doesn't have to be necessarily to build business or to like help with my business, more for me to like just have like a pinky in the pond, but also like just express the way I think, or like that, just like be the person I am and create these connections, right? But
Yeah.
if, for example, I wanted to go online, then probably my approach towards social media would change as well.
Or if you were like, and it's a mindset of abundance or lack, right? It's like,
Yes.
I think the abundance stuff works a lot better because, you could be like, I gotta find clients, and then all of your content is about trying to rope in clients. And I can see through that
Mhm.
stuff. I don't know, maybe not every time, but I think that doesn't land as well as when you're just like, this is what I'm doing. And whether you are looking for clients or not, right? Like just having it be, and there's hustling, like you can hustle, but I've gotten to a point where I'm like trying to hustle so hard, and then everything is just boring and me trying to find clients, and nobody wants to see that, like it has to
Yeah.
be like, hey, I'm accepting clients right now, and also like here's all this other stuff, because it's like it's and also, like I said on the last podcast, we get to make these things into whatever we want to. So you can,
Yeah.
if you want to hustle and be that person and be trying to find clients, go for it, but there's also, you can do whatever you want with it. It's the internet.
Exactly. It's your thing. Yeah, it's the internet. And again, it's personal training, whatever is personal to you. Like you want to
Mm.
put yourself out there, and like whoever gravitates towards it is because they liked you.
Mm-hmm. And I struggle with that, or maybe not struggle, but I myself change so much that, like, so does my Instagram, and sometimes I am like just personal training, and I want to kind of make it really specific and be about that. But then like now I'm like really into podcasting and doing all these other things too, and I'm doing an
Yeah.
event soon, and so it's like, here's other things in my life, and maybe some clients want to see that, and maybe some clients don't, but it's all just about finding your little group of people who are going to be
Yeah.
into your stuff. I think
Hmm.
you're probably the same way. We don't need millions of people who are like, yes, you're the thing. I would rather just like, like a tiny
Yeah.
group of
Just have,
people.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm super excited for tomorrow. And then I'm going to relate this to a question because you said your event. Because I'm doing uh, like I have clients, and then I'm bringing most of my clients in, and we're going to train together, and we're all dressing up.
Oh,
But it's
cool.
a
Is
Halloween event.
Halloween tomorrow in the UK? This is weird.
No,
There's
it's
a
not.
Halloween party tomorrow. Okay.
No, it's
Is it a
not
different
tomorrow.
day there?
Like, no, it's the same day. But the thing is, like, in my head, I was like, that Halloween weekend, people will probably want to do their own thing. So
Yeah.
I do this
Sure.
thing that once a month, I do a training session for my clients, so they can come in all train
I
together,
love
get to
that.
know each other, and like just like build that
I've
community
actually
and
seen that
friendship.
on your story. Yes, that's so
Yeah,
cool. They're all working out together. That's a really
exactly.
lovely idea. I like that.
Thank you. Like, I because I want like, and I got it from like, again, Prescript. I just the idea of like not just doing stuff or teaching, but also getting the people to kind of communicate to each other, like building that
Mhm.
community. And I was like, what better way? Because before I would create group chats, and then I put them
Mhm.
all in there, and I was expecting them to start talking to each other, and it would just never happen. Because, and then one of my
Yeah.
clients was like, it's because they've never met each other. Like, why would they
Yeah.
talk to each other? Because they've never met
You get
each
shy all
other.
of a sudden, like, oh
Yeah,
God,
they're
I'm in this
shy.
group chat. Yeah.
So now, like that, they get to like they're creating their own group chats, or like doing other stuff, like, so I
Because they
think
got
it's
together and
worked.
they struggled together, and oh, Mahan
Yeah,
makes you do this too, and I hate when you,
exactly, right.
yeah,
And
yeah, and you all,
to, I told you, it's a support group. They just complain about me on there,
yeah,
like they're like, oh,
in
and
love.
they even put like, for the best costume tomorrow, whoever wins gets to take me through Bulgarian split squats,
I
like a
love
drop set.
that. That's
So the winner,
awesome.
yeah. So like that's
Are they
gotta be
picking the weight,
tomorrow.
or are you picking the weight?
They've picked it now. They're picking the weight, and
Love that.
it was, yeah. But I
Can I
think I
message them
managed to.
and tell them how many pauses to add, or what the tempo is?
You can message
Hey
them,
guys.
but go for it.
No,
Like
no, it's okay. Just kidding.
the
Like,
thing
who are
is,
you?
I did manage to scare them off though, because what I
Okay.
did was I was like, yeah, it's fine, guys. You can take me through anything you want, but just remember that you're taking me through this once. I'm
Right.
training all of you indefinitely. So,
Right. Very true. Very true. We
so I
choose
think like,
wisely.
yeah, I think I got through. Like I did shake them a little bit. At least, hopefully, I wouldn't die tomorrow. But that's the
That's such a
event.
cool
So like,
idea. I like
I'm
that.
super excited for, right, doing the job, like thing we love. But that also brings me to your event.
My
Um,
event,
I know
yeah.
you're doing an actual Halloween event, not like before Halloween, but yours is after, right?
Mine is the day before actual Halloween.
Okay, there you
Actual
go.
Halloween is Sunday, and we're doing it on the Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
So
Yeah.
we're both choosing our own Halloween.
There you go. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Halloween it's here for people who are listening to this. I'm pointing to my heart.
Yes. It was more like sternum, but okay, yes. Yeah.
Don't call me out like that.
Mahan, just so you know, anatomy, heart is in the left.
Moment arm.
Yeah, your moment arm is in the left of your chest.
Oh,
That's great. I love that you do that. Did you have any trouble getting people out to that the first time you did it? Like, okay, guys, all come train at the gym, or were they into it? 'Cause I imagine, like, I'm sure, like, after that initial one, like, now they're in, but it might be tough to get people out on a Saturday to the gym and come meet all my other clients. Like,
yeah. I
mhm.
think I don't remember
Maybe
like
not
the
though.
first one. The first one, like, it was smaller than like the other ones.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to do these like for a long time, so like that's why I don't remember the exact first one.
Mm-hmm. That's
But yeah,
okay.
I
I was
think
just
like
curious.
yeah, like the first ones will be difficult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like because people are like a little bit shy about it and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
then slowly, if you like kind of continue and keep doing it, and then
Yeah, I'm sure after the
that's why
first one, they're like, "Oh, that was so fun. Let's do it again,
yeah,
guys."
they do
Yeah.
it again, and like the more you like film it, like if I film it and put it out there and like tell people, like they just kind of see how much fun it is, and like
Yeah.
I I did a like the last one we did boxing, and then afterwards like I just brought a Swiss ball, split them into two groups, and made them play dodgeball, and like
Oh,
I think
that's the
they
one I
just
saw on your story.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was so much fun, and like everyone just
Oh,
like
I
really
bet.
loved it. So yeah, now it's slowly picking up. So like I think tomorrow is going to be the biggest one, so, and like everyone's going to dress up. So
Cool.
I just cannot wait to see them, and you'll see it properly tomorrow. But I think 4 or 5 of them are dressing up as me.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
It's
I
gonna be
love
really
that.
great.
4 or
Yeah,
5 of
like
them, that's a lot. There's gonna be a
yeah,
lot of
because like
Mahan in that room.
I know, because we were talking about our outfits, and then Hannah, like she's always the one who creates problems for me. Like this, she was just like, "Why don't we
Shout
all
out
dress
Hannah.
up as Mahan?" Yeah, shout out Hannah. She's like, "Why doesn't we dress up as Mahan?" And everyone just loved it. Like they were just like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, let's do it." So
that's amazing.
apparently they're gonna dress up as me, so I just cannot wait to see it tomorrow.
That's awesome. What are you being? What are you going as?
I am going as a gender bender Esmeralda from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Love it.
Disney. Yeah.
Ooh, so you got some purple in your closet.
Yeah. I
Nice.
can give you a preview. I even have the sash.
Hey, did you buy that for this event?
Yes.
Yes, that's awesome. Wow. I cannot wait to I was gonna say, everyone go look at Mahan's Instagram tomorrow.
Yeah.
This will be like 2 weeks from now. So
Yeah. So they'll
sorry
see by
guys, you
then.
missed it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they can see it. Like probably. I'll still be putting pictures of me
Yeah, yeah,
in
you'll
that.
still see it if you currently follow Mahan.
Yeah.
Well,
But
sir, we've talked for almost over 2 hours,
yeah.
excuse me. Is there anything that you wanted? I mean, I had a couple aims for this episode, and we were going to talk about body image. We didn't quite, but that's okay. I really
Actually,
loved what.
no, I
Go for
I
it.
just remembered that. I was like, oh yeah, that
Oh,
was the
shit.
original.
We'll do another episode on body
Yes,
image.
we will
I
do.
also just, like we talked about, I love to like see where these go, and I think that like so many awesome topics already came out of this, and always do anyway when we kind of free flow.
Exactly. Like
Yeah,
think of it, we're both really active people, right?
yeah,
And most of my day I'm on my feet moving around. Like
yeah,
to be able to sit down for 2 hours and have these conversations, and like it's just gone like that, right? Like these
yeah,
are the special moments of like this is why it's beautiful, and I love what you're doing. Like you even said like kind of getting inspired by what Joe Rogan does, and like interviewing people and asking questions and things like that. That's why you do your podcast.
yeah.
It's great. Like because when would you like it's unprecedented times in our life that you and I just sat down for 2 hours,
Totally.
talked, whereas like this is pretty much our like face to face, probably second interaction.
Yeah. And
But
we're on different
you,
continents
yeah,
and
different
different time
continents, different
zones. And
timelines.
yeah, that's internet's insane, like we talked about, but it's also really cool in
Yeah,
this way.
and
And
it can be beautiful.
yeah, I was saying maybe it was in my intro to Nathan's episode, but it was like, you know, I met Nathan on the internet. Like I'm meeting most of my friends these days. Like it's a pandemic, right? And most of my friends don't live in, or my newer pandemic friends don't live in Canada. Don't, you know, it's, and yeah, and conversations are just one of the best ways to learn. And I think if people like listening to information, then podcasts are really cool for that. And much like you, I like parsing out information and having people elaborate on things, because that's how I came up in fitness. And when I started
Yeah.
getting into it, I just listened to every single again with the hypervigilance thing, every single fitness podcast ever, and I gained so much information from that. And then again, at one point, I was like, I gotta stop listening to fitness podcasts and just like listen to like a comedian's podcast or something different, or just start reading books. Or, you know, I've gone too hard on lots of things in my life where I'm like, okay, I cannot intake a single other fitness thing, because that can get too much too. But yeah, I think this is a great way to help people and to get information out there. And even if we just sit and shoot the shit, which we did,
it was great, right? Like
too.
I really had fun. I was gonna ask, like, to be like, before finishing, because I wanted to kind of, even though it's your own podcast, I wanted to create a plugin with my question for your own event, because it's gonna be like,
let's do it.
what? Yeah, what
let's
is
do it
the
very
event
naturally
about?
and organically.
Yeah, organically, like, what is the event about? I don't know, like by the time this episode comes out, maybe you've already done it, but if not, like, what do people expect from this? Because I'm quite interested, because
it's, oh my god, it's next week, right? Yeah, it's next week.
yes,
Wow,
yeah.
we've been planning it for so long, so it's wild that it's next week. Thank you so much for introducing this little plug.
Yeah.
So Morgan and I, do you follow Morgan Woodfine at all? I posted her a bunch, and
yes, I followed her
I'll send you
just
her page.
recently. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you know, you don't need to follow everybody, but
I would
Morgan and
listen
I.
to I need to finish the podcast as well, but that's why I'm asking.
That's awesome that you listen to it. Yeah. We're doing an event. She lives in Quebec, which is also in Canada, and another province away. And she's like, I'm coming to Toronto. Let's do an event. This is going to be way more longer winded, but I was saying to somebody yesterday, I feel like I manifested this event, because for like maybe 3 to 5 years of my life, I've been like, I want to do an event and I want to start speaking at events and doing these types of things. But like, I need somebody to come in and be like, I know how to plan events. You're going to come with me and do this event. And you know, I really think it's been like 5 years in the making of me saying that. And people be like, you can do anything you want, just start your own event. And it was like, events aren't a thing that my brain, like I you know, I don't know if you've ever run an event with somebody, but it's nice to have people around who are like, I've got a vendor coming and my friend's going to bring like products, and they're like, beautiful, right? But that was Morgan, and she was like, I want to come to Toronto and do an event and you're going to speak at it. And I was like, this is the moment. And so yeah, and we just connect on a lot of ideas. The event is going to be, she's a sex educator and a women's health coach. So it's very much around, it's called Pleasure and Play, a modern sex ed. And my piece in it is going to be, I'm going to be speaking about stress, movement, nutrition, maybe touch on mental health a little bit, and the nervous system, and basically all the discoveries I've made over the pandemic about my own nervous system, and how, you know, full circle, very much how we talked today about going too hard on things like movement, nutrition, or too little on things, and finding that sweet spot. And also, she's going to be talking about pleasure in clearly the sex way, and in intimacy. And I'm going to be talking about it more so in terms of just slowing down, whether it's forced through a pandemic or choosing to do so. And how important these things are to our lives, and just especially now, and especially training people in the pandemic and understanding like different levels of stress and layers of stress that are brand new to us now, and working with human beings. Talking to people about how I've discovered just slowing down and learning to listen to my own nervous system and my own stress levels, and learn to really like fine tune these things in my life, and how important it is to just like play and experience pleasure. And again, pleasure can just be like taking a deep breath in the middle of your day, or enjoying, I wanted to talk about your walks, your mindful walks, taking a mindful walk where you don't listen to music and you just listen to the sounds that are around you, and little ways that you can kind of lessen stress in your life, because it really is as simple as just leaning into pleasure a little bit more. But pleasure doesn't have to be this big extravagant thing or another thing you add on your to-do list, right? It could be, instead of listening to music right now that I may or may not actually be paying attention to, I'm going to pay attention to the sounds around me, which you've been posting about on your stories. And I was like, yeah, Mahan, I'm a big fan of a mindful walk.
Yeah.
just tuning into your life every so often, right?
Exactly.
I could do it right now. There's like a leaf next to me that's like, wow, that's a crazy leaf. Just like things that that now I sound like I'm smoking weed, but it's like, what's nuts, this leaf. But it's true. There's so many moments around us, and
Yeah,
that's what the event is going to be about. And that's what I'm super into that. Especially during
it's
the
perfect.
pandemic.
I love
Mhm.
that. To go with the leaf, like I forgot the name of the movie, but it's that the movie where the guy is just filming a plastic bag in the wind, just like
American
going.
Beauty. Yeah.
Yes, American Beauty, but like
Yeah.
there you go.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I love that. Like I really like this event because like also like one thing that kind of resonated with me was I've been like over these couple of weeks, I was obsessed with this Netflix show called Sex Education. I don't know
Oh,
if
I
you've seen
love
it or
that show. It's one
I
of the best shows ever.
it's one of the best shows ever, and I really like the fact like it's a really good show, but also it talks about things that needs to be talked about,
Yes.
right? I'm not gonna like I learned a lot of stuff from that as well.
Shout
It's
out
like
Sex
this is
Education. Everybody go watch that show. It's one
yeah,
of the
go
best.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's really great. And then I was like, when you guys put like pl- is it play and pleasure? Like pleasure and
Pleasure and play.
play. Sorry,
Mhm.
pleasure and play.
How
And
dare you?
I sorry?
I said, how dare you? I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. Like, it's
You
play
got the word.
pleasure.
I'm kidding.
It's just the order. It's
How
not a
dare you is just one of my
sandwich.
favorite things to say. It's just fun.
Sorry. It's the best, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm not saying I was trying to be serious, but I
I'm
lost that.
sorry.
No worries. I like it because I know it like after like seeing the stuff that you put on the notes, like she's a sex educator. I was like, and that's when I was like, okay, sex ed was really good and like not just as a show, but actually very like informative. So I love the fact that you guys were doing that, right?
Very adjacent. I watched that show and I'm texting Morgan. I'm like, have you seen this episode? And yeah, it's
So
very. It's funny. I was so I when I went to watch that show, I was like, oh, it's just gonna be about high school and kids, and like I'm not gonna relate to it. But like that's a show that everybody can relate to, and it's
yeah,
so well done. I cannot say it enough. Like casting, camera work, the house
a house,
that
yeah,
Otis, the main character, lives in, and his Gillian
the best.
Anderson, who plays his mother, is exquisite, and like I love that show so much. Yeah, everyone go watch it. It's just plug Sex
Again, yeah,
Education.
like just go and rewatch it. It's perfect, and I'm so sad that I finished it because now I have to wait. We all have to wait for the next
Oh, I
season.
know. But so many important conversations in that show, right? And they're
Yes,
high schoolers going through it, but this is information adults don't know too,
they
right?
know.
Like
Yeah,
yeah.
and the show shows it, and that's why I was like, I really like the event that you guys are doing because the show shows that like they're trying to educate, like it's about high schoolers and sex education for high schoolers, but then they have questions that the adults don't even know the answer to, and
Yeah.
like we
Mhm.
don't like some of these things I didn't know, right? And I'm like, oh
Absolutely.
god.
Yeah. I'm the same.
Uh, so it's really good, and I'm happy for your event, and I hope it goes really well, and I can't wait for you guys to run it. And I am kind of see, I decide stuff, and then I say I'm gonna do it, and then run with the ramifications later. And that's how
Yeah.
we've done our events as well. Like Dan and I just like started teaching, and Dan, Kyle, and I started teaching, and it worked out well. And like you, I manifested it. But I would love to, like, at one point, hopefully, I am coming to Canada, like, or if you come to London, and sometimes even like maybe go to States with get Alessandro involved. But we all should
Yeah.
do an event together as well. Like we
I
just
would
should run
love
an event,
that. I would love that so
right?
much. When, where, down. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Just
absolutely.
like sort it out. Hopefully, with this pandemic going like slowly away and things opening even more next
Yeah.
year, like we'll plan these things, and yeah, that'll be a
I
great
would love that.
experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be
I'm very
perfect.
much the same way too. I'm like, I'm gonna make a podcast. I don't
Yeah,
care.
it's
I'll take
like
a selfie. There's the cover art. Boom, boom, boom. And the other people are like, oh my God, like, aren't you afraid of like, what if you say something wrong? I'm like, I mean,
yeah,
I just roll with it. I just start, and it's like,
roll with the
I
punches.
think being a business person, you kind of have to be like that, because it's like
Yeah,
it'll get all pretty later. And like I made my website, it looked like crap when I first started. I just have to
yeah,
go. I do also like if you're a person who needs to have your ducks in a row, like my best friend is like that. She's like, I need to have it all ready before, but it's like that's gonna take years. Like if I have an
exactly.
idea, I have to go with it now, or I'll just be over it.
Yeah, same,
Yeah.
same. If
Yeah.
you have to move fast. That's like something that
Mm,
like really resonates with me. Like if you, so I did the same, like podcast, the website, same.
yeah.
Like honestly, like you know what? We're just gonna make the event only for Aries and Gemini people, because apparently these two type of people like mesh well together, and they're like.
You're a Pisces though, or did you lie
What
to
did I
me?
say? Why did
You're
I
a
say there?
Pisces.
Yeah, I am Pisces. Did I not
Oh,
say
okay. You said
Pisces?
Aries.
Did I say Aries? Sorry,
Yeah, that's
Pisces.
okay.
My bad. My bad.
You may also be a little bit of an Aries, so there's many signs. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
There we go. Who knows? We'll find out. You'll
Well,
let me know
and
next time.
I also, yes, let's absolutely do that. I'm so down. I mean, if I
Yes.
don't have enough money to fly to the UK, then maybe that will be a hindering factor. But when the stars align, let's do it. Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, cool.
Sounds good. Perfect.
Great. And I'm excited for your quads tomorrow. Have a lot of fun with
Yes.
your elevated split squats and your clients. And
Thank you.
everybody go check out Mahan on Instagram. Let everybody know where to find you. Instagram, website, whatever you want.
So Instagram is at Mahan Elmi _. So MAHANELMI _. And website, because apparently WoW is also World of Warcraft, so I had to put a hyphen there. www.wow-coaching.com. But like that website is just like, it's my, again, Pinky in the pond. It's like it's just something I had to make to have like a foot in the door. So it's not the prettiest in my opinion, but like, yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
To have fancy words like Maelstrom of misinformation.
Yeah, don't talk it down. You know, people be,
No.
I was wowed by Maelstrom. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Whatever. Okay. And podcasts as well, right?
Oh, yes. I forget about that.
That's
yes.
okay. I'm here.
Thank you. Majoring in the minors. So at majoring.in.the.minors. That's a podcast my best friend and I run. Louis has been absent for a while, but he'll be back as well. So
cool.
Yeah, that's our podcast.
Awesome.
And yeah, next episode will be with yours truly. But wait, does that mean me or you when I say
that means
truly?
you, but it's me.
Okay. With they truly.
With yours truly.
It'll be with Vanessa.
With Vanessa truly.
Yes, Vanessa truly.
Truly Vanessa.
The true Vanessa.
And that's me, in case we don't know.
Yeah.
All right, Mahan. This is great, as always.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Really
much. I'm sure we'll be doing it again. So it's not bye. It's bye for now.
Exactly. Body image as well.
Yeah.
That's
oh my God.
topic.
We have to talk about our topic next time. Let's do that. Okay.
Will do.
All right. Good night. And
Good night.
I'll see you later. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, no, thank you. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.